Hello, and welcome to In the Roud. Greetings and salutations, dear listeners. This is In the Roud, a folk song podcast, and I am your host, Matt Quinn. Join me as we travel through the world of traditional folk song, one song per episode, in the order they appear in the Roud Index. Each episode normally features two guests, one providing an historical look at the song, while the other will be a singer from the folk music scene to talk about their own version of the song. This podcast is proud to be partly sponsored by the Traditional Song Forum. Meeting regularly, both in person and online, the TSF provides a place for a variety of topics related to folk song, song collectors, singers, and many other aspects of folk song research to be discussed and presented. It's free to join, and most meetings are free to attend. So discover more about the TSF at www.tradsong.org. That's www.tradsong.org. So let's get going. This week's song is Roud 53, which is Child Ballad number 83, Child Maurice. Later on, we'll hear from our returning singer guest, John Boden, but for now, let's have a look at the song's history with returning historical contributor, Sandra Kerr. Well, hello and a big welcome back to In the Roud, Sandra Kerr. Hello.
Hello, Matthew. Here we are again.
Here we are again. Yet another one. How are you? How's things?
Yeah, things are good, actually. Thank you very much. Lots of exciting things happening and little projects bubbling away, ready to go. Later in the year, I'm going to be doing a project called Sing Northumberland, and I'm going to take a choir around Northumberland to its vast, open and far-flung regions, doing Northumbrian songs, lovely repertoire of Northumbrian songs, as a workshop and then a concert. So that's very exciting. And then things like, working with Nancy at your lovely New Traditions Club. And
Indeed.
and
That
various
will, in fact, on the day this episode goes out, that will have been last Sunday.
Oh, that will have been last Sunday. Oh, we'll have done that. Okay,
yeah.
so I won't talk about that then.
Well, I can tell everyone it was fabulous.
I tell you what, there is another one, though. I wanted to ask you about this, Matthew. I've been asked by Washington Arts Centre to do a talk after they're showing a film by, Kenneth, not Ken Loach. Who's the other Kenneth? Anyway, it's a film called In Search of English Folk Song. In Search of English Folk Song.
Okay.
Have you come across it?
No,
It's Ken.
English folk song.
Who did Women in Love and all those
Ken
films?
Russell.
That's
It's
the
the
man.
1977 documentary called In Search
There
of
you
the
go.
In Search of the English Folk Song.
Never come across it, have you?
No, not at all. I'm very
well-
familiar with Ken Russell, but not with that documentary.
Yes. Took me by surprise as well. So they're showing it at the festival, and then I'm doing a short talk afterwards. And then one of the students from the folk degree is going to play. So that would be a nice little project on the 1st of April coming
Excellent.
up soon.
Lovely. That'll be. That sounds very exciting.
It will.
Good. Well, but today we're talking about a not uncommon, not sort of sung child ballad, but not the most commonly found either. It's sort of one of those middle ground ones. It hasn't spread around quite so significantly, but we're not down to like one. There are some child ballads which in fact, because this is obviously this is Child Maurice we're talking about. Child 83 And
Yeah.
then last week we had Child 81, Little Musgrave Lady Barnard. And in between the two is Child 82. I don't know when we'll get to it on the podcast, if at all, is Child 82 is the Bonnie Birdie, and there's only one version in Child. So,
Isn't that extraordinary?
but Child felt it was worth putting it in, and he never found any other versions, at least to the
Extraordinary.
time of printing that, you know. But yeah, but we've got a few more, but not as many as Little Musgrave Lady Barnard. So it's sort of in that middle ground thing. So Child Maurice, start us off as always with the plot and what's it about, and give us a plot synopsis.
The plot, okay. Well, the plot, Matthew, has something for all the family, but I'm not sure that any of the family would want it. Let me tell you the story. A page, sometimes called Willie, sometimes called John, sometimes called nothing at all, is asked by Gil Morris or Child Morris or Bill Norris, Bob Norris, whatever his name is. He's asked to go to the local castle or the High House, which belongs to either Lord Barnard or Lord Bernard or John Stewart or Uncle Tom Copley and all, and asks the lady of the house to come to the Greenwood to meet him. Now, all we know about Gil Morris at this point is that he is young and he's incredibly beautiful, especially that he has long golden hair. The page is quite reluctant to do this. He doesn't really want to go to the Lord's house and ask the Lord's wife to come and meet Gil Morris or Child Maurice in the Greenwood. He doesn't want to do that. Scary stuff, and it's not going to end well. But Gil Morris or Child Morris gives him some tokens to show to the lady, like a ring or a glove, sometimes a garment all gold but the hem, to show that it actually is himself, Gil, or Child Morris, that wants to see her. Eventually, the young servant boy, the page, goes to the castle, goes to the High House, and says to the lady of the house, "You're wanted in the Greenwood." Now, she is terrified by this, and she stamps her foot or winks her eye in some versions and says, no, this message can't possibly be for me. And one of her serving maids and the nurse sometimes says, "Oh no, that's the message for me, just tell him I can't come." But the page insists that it's a message for the lady of the house. The master of the house, the lord of the house, overhears this message being given that the lady is to go to the Greenwood to meet with Gil Morris. He assumes, as we all do at this point, that Gil Morris is her lover. So in some versions, he then puts some women's clothing on, goes to the Greenwood to meet Gil Morris. And in one version, Matthew, he says the most amazing thing. He sees Gil Morris and he says, let me just quote this for you. "No wonder knew Gil Morris brave, my lady loves you weel, for the fairest part of my body is blacker than your heel." So more or less going, blimey, no wonder she fancies you, because you're gorgeous. Anyway, he's so furious that he assumes Gil Morris is his wife's lover. He kills him with a sword or with a knife. He cuts the head off and takes it back to the court and flings it, or sometimes kicks it. I'm sorry, we should have had a violence kind of warning at the beginning of this podcast, really. He kicks it or throws it at his lady and says, "Here, take the ball." She picks up the head and sees that it's Gil Morris, and it's then we learn that it's her son that she bore illegitimately, some years before she was married. And in the most beautiful phrase that Ewan points out too, is one of the most stunning phrases to come in a ballad. She says, "I once was full of Gil Morris as hippies or the stain." So we learn in that way that she was the mother and
Right.
she bore him. There's not much happens after that. She is distraught. Sometimes she asks to be killed. She asks the Lord to kill her. Other times, in one version, I think she throws herself from the castle wall. But generally speaking, the versions tend to end with the Lord being very contrite and saying, "If only I'd known, I'd never have done it." And there it ends. So with
Yes.
a slight contrition on the part of this completely and utterly horrid and brutal Lord. Extraordinary story, really extraordinary story. And the reveal part of the ballad, where we find that this is not about a woman and adultery. It is about illegitimacy, but it's also about the mother and a son relationship and how dearly they love each other. Right at the beginning of one of the versions, Gil Morris says, "The woman that first," describes her as the woman that first loved me, which is kind of ambiguous because we think, oh, is this going to be about adultery? An adulterous relationship, or as we later find out, it's him saying, this mother absolutely adored me as her son. It's quite an extraordinary ballad, and one that I remember very, very vividly from my time in the critics group, being tutored by Ewan MacColl, because it was a ballad that not only did he sing extraordinarily passionately and well, but also he was totally taken up and excited by the brilliance of the poetry. He wasn't the only one, I have to say. Lots of poets and writers, when the ballad first became known and aired, have called it things like Thomas Gray, the poet, called it divine. Others called it exquisite. And it really is a supreme example of how ballads can be so succinct, so economic, and yet so beautiful in their poetic kind of imagery and so on. So, sorry, would you like to say something?
That's okay. I mean, yeah, it's just as you said, there's something for everyone. You've got, mistaken murder. Well, not mistaken murder, deliberate murder, but for the wrong
Yeah,
reason. And possible adultery or jealousy. You've got cross-dressing in there as well.
you've got
And
cross dressing. You've got that relationship between the page and Gil Morris or Child Morris
mm,
as well, which is really interesting because it doesn't occur in all of them. There is a page, but as Ewan points out, can I just find where he points this out? He points out that the argument between Gil Morris, Ewan always called it Gil Morris, the argument between Gil Morris and his foot page has been developed in such a way as to give an extra dimension to the ballad that isn't in all of the versions, but in the version that MacColl sings, for instance, there is this
yeah,
dialogue. So that makes it very different to some of the other versions.
right, yeah, wow. So, how popular or common was this song? Is this? I mean, I'm going by the Roud Index. We're not dealing with a massive amount. The Roud Index gives us 85 entries, which is split between um, 63 in the Folksing Index and 22 in the Broadside Index. So it seems to have been found a fair bit, but not spread like wildfire. Is that
Absolutely
right?
not. It appears to be almost exclusively a Scots ballad. Its setting is Scotland. It's the dialect and so on that it's been collected in, and so on. Absolutely, and also, although there is one tiny reference to a fragment in Newfoundland,
That's right. Yeah.
isn't there? What collection is that, Matthew? Do you remember?
Yeah,
It's just
it's a book by Elizabeth Bristol Greenleaf, called
yes, Greenleaf. Yeah,
Ballads and Sea Songs of Newfoundland.
that's right. And there's just a fragment in there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's
But
six verses with
yeah,
a bit of text telling you what happens between verses,
yeah,
between the second and third provided verses. So it's a but yeah, so there's one Canadian mention.
yeah.
It was actually recited, and as you I think you mentioned, or you may mention, that this became a bit of a recitation as well as just a song.
It certainly did.
And so that Canadian one, it says recited by, rather than
Recited by.
recited
Yeah,
by Mrs. S. Walters from Rocky Harbour in 1920.
yeah.
And so
There
it's
you go.
recited. But yeah, so that one Canada, and then even they're talking about, you talking about it being all Scots. The Roud Index does give us 3 entries linked to England. One of them, however, is let me open it up. One of them is Whitelaw's Book of Scottish Ballads, and
So
therefore
yeah,
not. It just happened. The book
not in.
is it's an English printed book, but it's
Yeah,
a book of Scottish ballads.
yeah.
And
Absolutely.
then one of them is Jameson's Popular Ballads and Songs 1806, but that's
Right.
one of Child's sources, but it's probably Scottish because Jameson.
There you go.
And
Absolutely.
so our only England entry, it's just a 1955 book of ballads called The Ballad Book by Leach,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
there aren't really any English versions. There just happens to be 3 versions printed in England.
Printed in England.
And
Absolutely.
one of
Yeah.
them is a collection called Book of Scottish Ballads. So you can't just but go by
Absolutely.
the statistics of the Roud Index. I would say you have to delve a bit deeper to work it all out. But
I think you do. Um, while we're talking about publications, the ballad, of course, was first published by Fowlis in Glasgow in 1755.
oh wow,
Now,
we've got not necessarily its origin point, but an earliest date,
yes, we have
17,
got an earlier date. Although,
1755.
yeah, and it was then reprinted in Percy's Relics in, now when was that? That was 10 years later, wasn't it?
That sounds
Oh,
about right. My dates. I'm not very good
yeah,
on dates.
yes, it is. Yeah, it's 10 years later. Now, Percy has a very interesting piece of information in his preface to the copy of the ballad in Relics. Can I just read this paragraph to you, Matthew? I think this is really interesting, and kind of opens up an interesting area that we perhaps could explore a bit. He remarks the following piece has lately run through 2 editions in Scotland. The second, printed in Glasgow in 1755, prefixed to them both is an advertisement setting forth that the preservation of this poem was owing, quote, to a lady who favoured the printers with a copy as it was carefully collected from the mouths of old women and nurses, and any reader that can render it more correct or complete is desired to oblige the public with such improvements. Now, isn't that interesting? What they're virtually saying is, look, here's a ballad, but if you know more bits, could you let us know? I find that quite extraordinary. And as a result of that, I think 16 more stanzas, more verses were sent in from various sources. Isn't that extraordinary, though?
That's fantastic. And normally, if someone like that or whoever had
Yeah.
verses missing, they just wrote them themselves. With a bit of
Well, that too.
a bit of poetic license.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the other element that gave rise to the popularity of the ballad in that middle 18th century period was a play written by the Reverend John. Now, I think Hume at home is pronounced Hume in Scotland, isn't it? As in Sir
Oh
Alec
yeah,
Douglas of that ilk. But anyway, the Reverend John Hume wrote a play based on Gil Morris or Child Morris, which he called Douglas or The Douglas. And it was hugely popular, the play, and brought the ballad back into kind of currency, and people became very interested in it again as a recitation. So there's that kind of link again with, with sung balladry, if you like, and the text being seen as something that could be recited
right.
without tune.
And actually, I did notice that play Douglas was first performed in 1756.
56,
So
that's
it's
right.
only 1 year later than
Yeah,
our earliest reference point.
exactly. So, but it has to be said, several people, several academics have pointed out that they believed it to be at least in currency at least 100 years before that.
Oh
So it may
wow.
well have been, yeah, may well have been around. It makes sense, doesn't it? Something is not going to be published or printed in a collection out of the blue. These things were around in currency, weren't they? Whether
Yeah,
they'd been printed on broadside or not, that we don't know, of course,
indeed.
unless,
I'm just doing some quick maths here.
yeah.
826 minus 70. So I just noticed, yeah, talking about how because version D in Child from
Yeah.
it's one of the versions of Motherwell manuscript. It says from the recitation of Widow Michael, a very old woman, as learned by her in Bamshire 70 years earlier. And
Yeah.
then it says August 9th, 1826. 17 years earlier is 1756, same year as the play.
There you go.
So,
Yes. So
yeah,
it all ties up, doesn't
yeah.
it? And
And,
it all
and
makes sense.
yeah, and that play, Douglas, I have to go, I'm going by Wikipedia here, which is bad of me, but it's an easy way of finding out about the play, is a blank verse tragedy.
Yes.
So yeah, poetry written with metrical but unrhymed lines, usually
Yeah.
iambic
Yeah.
pentameter. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I've never heard of that play, but then why would I have heard of it?
No, exactly. Exactly.
Doesn't get revivals, does it? It's not Guys and Dolls. Doesn't get regular revivals.
No, not at all.
Apparently, in 1790, there was a production of it in a private theatre for Lady Crespigny, and in which the characters received a happy ending. They adapted it to a
Oh
happy ending,
no. Oh dear,
in
dear,
which Lady
dear.
Randolph and Douglas live when it. Yeah, so yeah, there you go.
It does happen. I remember Joan Littlewood, whom I met, Ewan introduced us to.
Right.
We went out for a meal together, and she'd just come back from North Africa. I can't remember which country it was. It wasn't Algeria, but one of the coastal countries in Africa, and they'd taken Romeo and Juliet there. Their company had taken Romeo and Juliet there, and the audience would not allow the play to end with the death of Romeo and Juliet. So they had to improvise an ending where they lived happily ever after, which must have been quite difficult, really. But it does happen. People don't like that, do they? They don't like that kind of,
No, I know.
everybody is in dool and sorrow at the end of the ballad.
Although there's on the Wikipedia page for the play Douglas, we're going off track now slightly, but apparently there's a famous Edinburgh audience exclamation after a performance of Douglas, which was "Where's your Willie Shakespeare New?"
Yes, I read that. Isn't that
So
fantastic?
at least one person in the audience felt it was superior to Shakespeare.
I know, I know. Isn't that extraordinary? I mean, one feels one is duty bound to read it then.
Maybe,
But
yeah, we sort of investigate it, but who
yeah,
knows?
absolutely.
But yeah, so
But
it's just
yes.
fascinating that we get that. Yeah, some of these old ballads get then adapted into other formats. I was talking to someone, and it reminded myself that on my shelf is a novel written by a previous podcast singer guest, Amanda McLean, and
Oh,
she's
right.
written a novel called The Flax Flower, and it is the ballad
Oh, yes.
Miller Tiffany's Annie
That's right.
in
Yes,
novel.
I have. I've come across this.
And if listeners can hold on, that is round number 98, which I will get to in the summer of next year, 2027. And Amanda herself is going to be the history guest for that one. So,
Ah,
because
excellent.
she's written two papers on it for the Folk Song Journal. So
Excellent.
yeah, so she turned that into a novel, and here we have John Hume turning Child Morris into a play. But
Into
yeah,
a
I
play.
like it when these things sort of take on a different life.
Yes,
They
indeed.
become a different art form. And also there's a film as well that goes back to an episode we've already done. This episode's singing guest John Boden and I have been meaning to get together and watch the 1970 film The Ballad of Tam Lin,
Wow.
which is
Goodness.
based on it, directed by Roddy McDowall, starring Ava Gardner and Ian McShane.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
No. I don't believe it.
So, but I've no idea how rigidly it adheres to it, or whether it's just
No.
influenced by. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Goodness
Tamlin,
me.
1970. So yeah, it's great when these things. Uh, I'm all for these ballads being turned into plays, novels,
Yeah.
films.
Yeah.
Seeing what you can do with them in other art forms.
Absolutely. And I mean, when you think about them, I mean, we jokingly said something for all the family at the beginning of this, but actually, all human life is in these ballads, isn't it?
Oh
It's one
yeah,
of the
absolutely.
reasons that they've survived. So, yes, wonderful. I'm amazed that more people don't take up the ballads as an inspiration for further creative work.
Yeah.
Anyway, perhaps
Anyway,
they will
perhaps
after
there were.
we've said that, Matthew.
Yes, who knows? Who knows? But yeah. So we have seven versions in Child for
We
this, don't we?
do.
Child Morris in Child. We've got version A is the one from the Percy manuscript, that one we mentioned,
Yeah.
and that has I like to go through them. That has a whopping 32 verses, but
I know.
with some missing bits as well. Child Maurice in that one. I'm trying to find. Always interested in the names. Is there a lord name of a lord in that one?
I don't know. I'm not looking at that.
He says, "Come hither, thou little footpage that runneth low by my knee, for thou shalt
Yeah.
go to John Steward's wife and pray her
John
speak with
Stewart's
me."
wife. Yes. I think I mentioned John Stewart at one point when I
Yeah,
was doing a synopsis
yeah.
of the story.
And it ends with, "For I have slain one of the courteous, courteousest." It's the word courteousest you don't get very often, do you?
You do-
One of the most courteous is what it
I would
should,
have thought that would be better.
but it
Yeah.
doesn't scan, I suppose, or
No, it
doesn't
doesn't.
either. "For I have slain one of the courteousest knights that ever bestrode a steed. So have I done one of the fairest ladies that ever were woman's weed."
There
So
we go.
it's part of the mild repentance.
Yes. Yes. That's right.
And then version B onwards, we got four Motherwell ones. Motherwell's Minstrelsy, learnt from the singing of Widow McCormick from
Here we go.
Paisley, January
Yeah.
1925.
Who
Learned by
learned?
her of an old
Yeah.
woman in Dumbarton.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
Child Norris.
Yes.
So Norryce.
That's it.
And the first mention is Child Norris, but then every time then after that, it switches between Maurice and Norrie,
Yeah,
Nory.
yeah,
That's baffling.
it
And
is
that
indeed.
ends with, yeah, oh, would be to thee, Lady Margaret, he said, and an ill death may you die, for if you had told me he was your son, he would not have been slain by
Blamed by
me.
me. Yeah, that's the way that Ewan's version ends as well.
Yes. Version C in Child from the singing of Motherwell again, singing of Mrs. Story, wife of William Story, labourer from Lochwinnock. A song of Mrs. Story's grandmother. And that's the one Bob Norris in there. You
Bob
don't you
Norris.
don't get Bob very often in folk songs.
You don't.
It's like
You don't.
when you and I
Yeah,
did that episode on Sweet William's Ghost. They're all William
yeah.
and Margaret, but there was one version in Child that he was called Philip. You don't get Philip very
Yes.
often. Bob.
Yes. Has somebody made a study of names in? I know Ewan used to make a big thing about names in traditional songs and ballads, and that they were all, working class names and all the rest of it, like Willie but Bob and Philip did not appear
No.
very
Well, at
very
least Bob is a shortening of Robert, which is slightly better in terms
slightly
of
more. Yes,
slightly more
yes,
appropriate, but nevertheless, Bob Norris
yeah,
and Lord
yes,
Barnett.
yes.
Yeah, very good. And yeah, if he if I had Kent, he was your son, he'd not have been killed by me. And then there's the Motherwell, the D version, Motherwell from Widow Michael, learnt by her in Banffshire 70 years earlier, which dates it at 1756.
There we go.
Gil Morris
Excellent.
stood in a stable door with red gold shined his weed. You don't see red gold very often. A bonny boy, him behind, dressing a milk white steed. And that goes on for 30 verses. We get
Yes.
Norway mentioned in this version.
Oh, which version
Norway.
is that?
This is version D in Child. Second to
Right.
last verse. Keep well your land, burn it, she said. Your land and white money. There's land enough in Norway, lies heiress I wot the day.
Oh, right.
I'll have to go through the whole ballad to sort of work out the Norway connection.
Yes, quite.
It's Norway, and it ends with this.
Is that, yeah, is that at the end of the ballad? I
That's
haven't got that.
that's the penultimate verse, verse 29 in version D.
Okay,
And
I
the last
should.
verse is, the one was killed in the morning air, his mother died at e'en, and o'er the morning bells was rung, the threesome were gone.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
But yeah, so we've got mention of Norway there,
I'm
which
just finding that.
which I'm sure
Yes.
Child would have loved, because Child was very
Yes.
keen
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
linking
Oh,
linking
yes,
these
absolutely.
to the Danish and Nordic ballads.
Oh, yes, indeed.
And
There's
so
land enough in Norway, lies Erless, I wot the day. Um,
yeah,
that's version D. What have we got in version E?
and that's Motherwell recitation of Mrs. Thompson of Kilbarchan, 70 years of age, as learned from her mother at the Water of Leven, Dumbarton, when she was 10. 1825 minus 70 takes you back to
There you
1755
go.
again.
Yeah. Yes.
Child Maurice was an earl's son, his name it waxed wide. It was nae for his parentage, nor for his mickle pride, but it was for a
Was
lady
for
gay
a
that
lady
lived
gay
on
that lived on
Karen's
Caramel
side.
side. Yes.
34 verses.
Yeah.
Lord Barnard, Sweet Willie. We're back to Sweet Willie again now.
Yes, we've got William there.
Then I'll
Willie there.
curse the hand that did the deed, the heart that thought him ill, the feet that carried me speedily this comely youth to kill. This lady she died gin 10 o'clock,
10
Lord
o'clock.
Barnard died gin 12, and bonny boy now Sweet Willie, what's come o' him I canna tell.
Oh, that's interesting.
Just it leaves it open.
So,
This narrator cannot bring themselves to tell you what happened to Sweet Willie, or maybe they don't
oh,
know. You know.
well, he doesn't make another appearance in any of the ballad apart from there. I mean, he's the page, isn't he, Sweet
Yes,
Willie?
he's the errand.
So why do they suddenly have a little reference to him right at the end? But I suppose that's nice. I suppose that kind of little a threesome. The lady died at 10 o'clock. Lord Barnard died Gintwal between two, I suppose.
Yeah.
But what's become of Sweet Willie? What's come of him? I cannot tell. I suppose that works nicely, but it's an interesting motif because it doesn't come anywhere else, does it?
No, absolutely.
And
And then
here's version F, which is Gil Morris
that's in
in
that's the
Percy.
Percy's relics again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gil Morris was an earl's son. His name had waxed wide. It was nae for his gay riches, nor for his mickle pride, but it was for a lady gay lived on Karen's side. 39 verses, ending
Yeah,
with away, away, ye ill woman, and an ill death made ye day. Gin I had ken he'd been your son, he'd ne'er been slain
they're being
for
killed
me.
by me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And then version G, Jameson is 3 verses. It's a fragment.
yes.
It's Gil Morris again. And Willie is his foster brother in that one.
Oh, really?
Verse 2, he called his foster brother Willie,
Brother Willie,
come win
come
your
win
hosen
you.
shoon, and gay until Lord Barnard's hole, and bid his lady
Did his
come.
lady come? My goodness.
You don't get the
Oh,
phrase
no,
foster brother that often, do you, in folk songs?
indeed you don't. That is really, that might have been something that was misheard.
Maybe.
You never know with
Could have
these
been
things.
my first brother rather than
It
foster
could have been.
brother. That
Yeah,
sort of thing, maybe, but we'll never know.
absolutely. There's an interesting thing about the name Barnard, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
When Douglas, the play that was written by John Hume, was taken, I think, to London, they changed it from Lord Barnard, which might have been because he might have been in the audience or a descendant of the
Ah.
Barnards. They changed it to something else. I read that somewhere, I can't remember where, but I thought that was a nice touch. Let's not upset
Oh, I
your
think
Tom say.
there's Sir Malcolm. I think there's Sir Malcolm in the plot of
Oh,
Douglas.
right, okay.
Oh no, Lord Randolph. Sorry, Lord Randolph.
Oh, there you go. That's right. It was changed to Lord Randolph. So sweet.
Very good, very good.
You see what I mean about the references time and time again to the women carrying this ballad on, Matthew,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
often
absolutely.
old women, and often nurses who were servants, of course, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so I find that a very interesting little thread that runs through all these, the continuation of all these versions of the ballad. So yes, sometimes it even says by an old woman. It doesn't even say whether she was a nurse who gave it to the
Yes.
informant.
That's the
So
usual
very,
spectacularly unhelpful information from these old collections.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yes, I found that very noticeable. Right back to the Percy entry in the introduction to the ballad.
And even the only field recording that exists of this song is sung by a woman.
Indeed, that's Mary Stuart.
That's Mary Stuart. You say Belle Stuart's mother, is that right?
Belle Stuart's mother, yes,
Yeah.
the famous and absolutely marvellous Stuarts of Blairgowrie, all of them extraordinary singers,
Yeah.
every single one of them.
Although she did say that she'd learnt it from her brother-in-law,
Her brother, that's right, yes, she did. Was that James White?
James White of Aberdeen, her brother-in-law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. And we were cogitating on whether they were the same Whites that gave rise to Betsy White, or was it the James White that sang The Swan Swims Sir Bonny-O?
So yeah, that's
Yeah,
because the Martha Stewart recording exists on an anthology called Hamish Henderson Collects Volume 2, because he
yeah,
collected it from her in 1956. And
right,
Mike Yates wrote the sleeve notes to that. And he did
right.
say, I wonder whether James White was the same man as Jimmy White, who
Yeah,
sings The Swans Swim So Bonny-O on this same CD.
yeah. And then there's Betsy White, of course,
And there's
isn't there?
Betsy White. She is one of only 2 field recordings of Tam Lin as well,
That's right.
which is on that
Extraordinary.
Muckle Sangs LP.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, I wonder if
absolutely.
there is a connection between the Whites in that case and married into the
Oh, I
Stuarts.
think
And
so. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
so.
well, brother-in-law, whether it's the same Whites as Betsy White, we're not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you listen to Martha Stewart singing her version of Gil Morris, I mean, you can so hear Belle's singing
Yeah,
and Sheila's singing. You know, the style is there, that lilting, wonderful. I always think of their voices as kind of fizzing with 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 tones and colour. They're just marvellous singers.
yeah.
And yes, extraordinary. And the fact that, you know, if anybody's in any doubt about the role of the travellers in continuing the greatest part of our, if you like, the greatest part of our tradition of balladry. I mean, these are brilliant examples of it. The Stuarts of Blair, and people like Jeannie Robertson of Aberdeen, and so on.
Yeah.
And who was Jeannie's daughter? Gone.
Oh, names.
I know.
Um,
Never mind. We'll forget that
we'll
link.
forget.
You can
That's fine.
edit that
Yeah,
out, but we can.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's absolutely sensational singing and just
sensational singing.
on all parts. And yeah, it's a sight to behold in audio form, if you see what I mean. Uh, it's
Yes.
audio to behold doesn't quite work. But yeah, Mike Yates also said that this was a 2006 CD. So we're 20 years after this, 20
Yeah.
years behind or ahead of this information now. But he mentioned that there is a cylinder recording, a wax cylinder recording of this ballad in the James Madison Carpenter collection, but it remains 2006 remains unpublished. That's Gil Morris, sung by Peter Christie of Stonehaven, sometime between 1929 and 1935.
Right.
So there is that
Right.
somewhere buried in the Carpenter collection, which maybe one day we'll have
One day
access
may
to.
see the light of day.
But then it's also a cylinder recording, so it's probably going to be useless anyway.
Oh,
You know, if you picked it up,
I
it'd
know.
crumble, and if you managed to play it, you probably wouldn't understand a single word. But yeah, it's so there are there's references to men singing it as well, but predominantly, as you said, it seems to
Predominantly.
the references
Yeah.
are to women
Yeah.
singing it.
Absolutely. Um, so, kind of going back a little bit,
Yeah,
certainly the geographical range is very narrow. There's no continental affiliations at all, which is, do you know that I find that quite weird that there's nothing that this amazing kind of narrative, this story, these relationships, passionate and violent and all the rest of it, nothing seems to come from Eastern Europe. There seem to be no links with balladry in Europe at
no,
all, which is very unusual, I think.
yeah,
Um,
and nothing in
and
America, apart from this one Canada, Rocky Harbour, Newfoundland,
yeah, yeah,
and that's
exactly.
1920,
Yeah,
and that appears in a journal of the Folk Song Society as well. There was some articles
indeed.
about Newfoundland songs. That's Giles Morrissey in that one, but just
Right.
I said a
Well,
fragment of
that's a fine old ballad name, isn't it?
yeah, Giles.
Morrissey and the Russian sailor and so
That's
on.
right.
Yeah,
But it's fragmentary.
excellent.
Here's a letter come from Giles Morrissey, sent carefully here by me. Here's a letter come from Giles Morrissey, for to let no one see. He saw a youth on a milk-white steed combing out his yellow hair. Then it says, he challenged him to fight and killed him. This lady went out and made him lament over his grave, for he was her son. And then we get some more verses.
Right. Oh,
I,
that's a bit bold, isn't it?
I
But
nursed you up in the green, in the good green woods, beneath all grief and shame. I sat down by your
yeah,
cradle and rocked you fast asleep, and now I do sit by your grave, and bitter tears do weep. And it says, the husband replied, and it gives you the last couplet, if I'd have known Gil Morrissey been your son, he'd never been slain by me.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, the bits that we have for that single Newfoundland entry seem quite similar to
Yes,
bits from
yes,
what we
indeed.
know. But otherwise, yeah, Scotland, and that's basically it.
Scotland and really, as Kenny Goldstein points out in he does a wonderful long note to Ewan McCall's version that he sings, which comes from Gavin Grieg's Last Leaves.
Oh yeah.
Kenny says at the end, at the present time, the ballad may well be extinct in tradition. The last version reported was the fragment that you've just mentioned, collected in Newfoundland in 1920. The version sung by McCall was learned from Greg in Last Leaves, but also tunes. Now, tunes are quite interesting here, aren't they?
Yeah,
That's
right.
another thread we might follow. I have to say, I got sidetracked in the last few days, doing a kind of comparison between the version that Ewan McCall sings and the version Bill Norrie, which seems to be an almost complete construction by Martin Carthy.
I was about
And
to
a
say
very,
that's one of the most famous versions, really, of this song is Martin Carthy's magnificent Bill Norrie, but it's Martin doing one of his reconstruction jobs.
totally, and very, very successfully, it has to be said.
Yeah.
But, the difference between the two I found so intriguing. Now we're talking, for instance, about tunes. There's Ewan's, this pentatonic tune, absolutely unremitting in its consistent rhythm. Da ba dum ba da da do 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 ba da ba dee da dee 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 ba dum ba dee dee dee, and it goes on, and he never wavers, and the pitch is fantastic, the intensity and the energy is just extraordinary, and then juxtaposed against that, you get Martin's kind of 7/4 5/4 7/4 5/4, and anything in between when he fancies it, which is quite extraordinary,
Yeah,
and I love it. I mean, I think it works extremely well,
and
I have
it's
to say.
Martin's one. That tune it's major, so it's in the Ionian mode, but it all centers around the third of the scale in a
It
way.
does, and it actually rests on the third.
Yeah,
The final
it's got a
cadence
huge
is on the
jump.
third.
It's got a huge jump
Yeah.
between the thirds in octaves at one point, and it ends on the third.
Da da dee da da dum ba da da dee ba da da dee ya da dee. I'm not doing it in rhythm. Dee da 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 dee ba da 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 da
And it
da.
ends on the third of the scale.
Yeah,
Yeah, fantastic.
extraordinary. And there's so few tunes that do that in the tradition. In
Mm.
fact, Nancy and I were talking about it. I could only think of one other, which is the Wee Weaver. Da 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 dum dee da la da dee da da da
Yeah, of
dee, which it
course.
ends on consistently. But I couldn't think of another that ends
No.
on the third. I'm sure there are. I'm sure.
If listeners want to hear more about the Wee Weaver, Nancy and I covered that one on the Patreon.
Oh,
Nancy was the first of our Singers' Choice guests, and one of her choices was the Wee Weaver. So we've
lovely,
done with her and John Molden on the history side. We did a whole episode on the Wee Weaver. Right.
lovely,
But there
lovely
are
too.
7 tunes available to us in
Yes.
Bronson's tunes for the child ballads, aren't there?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, some they're all quite similar. I think I noted down a couple of them to give by way of example.
Right.
And so, version 1, for example, Johnson. I'm not very good at deciphering the codes. James Johnson, The Scots Musical Museum, 1790.
Yeah.
We've got Gil Morris was an earl's son. His name it waxes wide. It was not for his great riches, nor yet his mickle pride, but it was for a gay lady that lived on Carron's side. But yeah, so that's a nice sort of grand sweeping melody that ends on the fifth of the scale. Dun dun
Yeah.
da da
That's nice.
da. So that's yeah, that's
Yes.
quite good.
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
noted the fourth version. It's got Babe Norris,
Babe Norris, I know.
Motherwell. Babe Norris, William Motherwell, Minstrelsies, Ancient and Modern, 1827. Babe Norris to the greenwood gain. He's a war with the wind. His horse's silver shone before. Getting that wrong. In the burning Gouda Hind. So yeah, it's got a
Hmm.
minor thing
Yeah,
going on.
relative minor thing going on.
And then and the seventh one as well, the last one is a straight Aeolian mode minor.
Now, this is the one that Ewan's is based on. Da dum da 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 dee dee dum ba dee da dee ba da dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 dee.
Aha, there
That's
we
the
go.
tune that Ewan sings,
Well, there we go. And
which is
and
fantastic. I love those
Bronson has
pentatonic.
provided 48 verses to go with that one.
Yep, that's
So
it.
if anyone fancies reading all that, they're more than welcome to.
Well, they should listen to it, Matthew,
Yes.
because I think Ewan's singing of this version of Gil Morris is quite exceptional, really. And this is not, this is objectively, I think it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
To take a you've got five notes to play with and an just a rhythm that is inexorable. It just never lets up. And what he does with that in terms of conveying all the balladry, all the narrative in this ballad is just extraordinary. Now, totally unaccompanied, totally rhythmic, totally pentatonic, totally committed. I just find it an extraordinary piece. And that's one of the reasons I liked comparing it with what Martin Carthy does with his version, where you've got strange, complex, compound rhythms. You've got a guitar accompaniment, and he does lots of spacing of the ballad by
Yeah.
using breaks with the guitar and so on. It's so different, and yet they both work. They clearly both work. However, I don't know anybody who's taken up Ewan's version and done it with such success, really.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas lots of people have recorded Bill Norrie,
Martin
lots of
Spinari, yeah.
yeah.
And then later on we'll talk to John Boden about his version. Because that's the melody of that is he put it to a dance tune, the dark girl
I
dressed
know.
in blue. So
Yes,
I'm sure
a
we'll come to that.
Shetland tune. Mm.
Yeah, I suppose it is, isn't it? Yeah, I keep forgetting that.
It is
Yeah,
Shetland. Yeah.
we'll talk about that with John later on. But yeah, those are some of the seven available in Bronson melodies. And then in terms of field recordings for our recommended listening section, as we said, all there is available to us is the Martha Stewart one. But there are references to another another singer, as in Martha's brother-in-law, but also reference to another recording, which is in the James Carpenter collection on a wax cylinder. So who knows? So yeah, it's an interesting song. We've got there's a play made out of it, and there's it's very popular with female singers, and yeah, it's really interesting stuff. Somehow one version made it to Newfoundland. It's all a bit mad.
It is, but I find that, when you think about the content of this ballad, which is very confronting,
Yeah,
it's just extraordinary. And yet, the number of times it was sung by old ladies and nurses, were those nurses singing it to their charges? I do hope not. Night, night, baby. I mean, good grief, can you imagine? Just extraordinary. But what was it that appealed to those old women so much in this ballad? Was it the total brutality meted out to that woman, that poor woman, who's nameless, of course, in the ballad, who's
yeah.
had to bear an illegitimate child? And here we go again. I'm sorry to go on about the patriarchy, Matthew, but I always do, so I should do it again.
Quite all right.
But why is it that women who get in the family way they're never the victims, they're always the ones who are blamed. There is nothing said about who got her with child, and nobody is absolutely up in arms
No,
and going to mete out retribution to him. It's always to the woman, and I just throw that in because I think all these old women who've carried the ballad and the recitation, they may have so engaged with that and related to that inequality and that injustice and that brutality. Goodness me, a lot of them were born and were living in very brutal times indeed. You know, don't let's assume that the Victorian era was free of any abuse or inequalities or brutality and so on. Of course they were. It was a brutal time.
indeed. I remembered. I'm trying to find. I won't be able to find it because I don't know where it
Yeah,
was. I don't know where it was, but in one of the versions, it must have been in Child because I was scanning through that. There was a
yeah.
mention of her getting pregnant with our titular.
Gil Morris.
It was
Yeah,
something to do with my a long time ago at my father's house. An English lord came to stay, and he put Gil
yeah,
Morris within
yes,
me, but I can't remember where
yeah.
it was. Um,
Well, it's in all of them, or it's certainly in Ewan's version. So she says, I got thee in my father's hall wi' muckle grief and shame, and brocht ye up in the greenwood under the heavy rain. I oft hae by thy cradle sat and watched thee soundly sleep. Now I mun gang about thy grave and sought tears for to weep. So it doesn't mention who it was that got her
okay,
with child
I
in that
found it. I
verse.
found it. Version C in Child, well, the
Oh
Motherwell
yeah,
one,
yeah,
the Bob Norris one,
yeah.
Lord Barnet, and then yeah, just at the end, we've got. Well, this is the last four verses, and we'll round off here. Uh,
Okay,
he took the bloody head in his hand, and he brought it to the hall, and flung it into his lady's lap, saying, "Lady, there is a ball."
I
She
know.
took the bloody head in her hand, and kissed it from cheek to chin, saying, "Better I like that well furrowed face, nor all my royal kin."
Gift King, yeah.
When I was in my father's house, all in my dignity, an English lord a visit came, gat Bob Norris wi me.
Oh my word!
And then the last
And
verse, then out bespake Lord Barnet sen, and a
yeah,
wah man was he, say way man was he, saying, if I had kent he was your son, he would ne'er been killed by me.
been killed by me.
So in
How
that one,
extraordinary! An English lord. Oh,
when I was in
ah,
my father's bower, all in
yeah.
my dignity, an English lord a visit came, gat Bob Norris wi me.
Oh my goodness!
This
There's
goes back
another.
to the whole Lady Maisry one,
Yes, yes, indeed.
Bonnie Susie Cleland about but in that one she's chastised for falling in love with or
Going,
at least being
falling in love with
impregnated
an
by an
Englishman.
English lord. We hate
Yeah,
the English, There's all that.
yeah, absolutely. It's all in there. It's all in there. Marvelous. What a ballad. What a ballad.
What a ballad indeed, and yes, hefty subject matter, and it's all
It wasn't a bundle of laughs, I have to say,
no,
Matthew.
no. Yes, yeah, quite so. It's yes, we'll leave it there, and I'll put links to whatever there is in the show notes. Um, yeah, oh, it's been fantastic. Thank you ever so much for coming back on and doing this. It's nice to have you. Nice to have you as part of the regular team.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice. Thank you, Matthew. I enjoy it very much. I love doing the detective work and just sitting and thinking about these extraordinary things that have come down to us and who's carried them and why they carried them. Extraordinary stuff.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? I'm really enjoying all that stuff myself, all the little stuff that I do for this as well. So this is great. Well, yes, we'll leave things there, and until we meet again, Sandra Kerr, thank you very much.
You're so welcome, Matthew. Take care. Bye.
A huge thanks again to Sandra Kerr for providing us with the history of Child Maurice. Just one clip of a traditional singer this time, since that's pretty much all exists, so let's hear a few verses of Martha Stewart singing Child Norris.
Child Norris was an earl's son, and his name was worth the wait. For it was na for his great riches, nor yet his muckle pride. His face was fair, long was his hair, and the green was where he stood. Oh, it was na for his muckle pride, nor yet his golden shroud. For young Willie was an errand brave, and the message he was sent unto Lord Barnard's, how he gaed up on a summer's day. For when he come to yon high hill, for he slacked his shoes and he ran, aye, and when he come to yon broken brig, aye, he bent his breast and swum.
And there we go, that's the recording of Martha Stewart singing Child Norris. I just want to take a couple of minutes now to tell you about our Patreon. Patreon is a way for the listener to help support the podcast if you feel so moved. For a monthly subscription, we produce a load of bonus content, bonus episodes. We mainly cover songs from elsewhere in the Roud Index, because obviously we're in still very low numbers, gradually creeping forward, but it'll take a while to get wherever. And so on the Patreon, we can cover much higher Roud numbers. That is always done through a series of mini-seasons called Singer's Choice. I get one singer guest to come on for 3 whole episodes, and we cover 3 songs of their own choosing. Consequently, as I always say to people, it's like applying a random number generator to the Roud Index. We've had mini-seasons so far with Nancy Kerr, John Doran, Jess Arrowsmith, George Sansom, and many more. We also produce episodes looking at other aspects of folk songs and folk song collecting in the form of spotlight episodes. If you feel so moved to support the podcast financially, then please do head on over to patreon.com/intheroud, and you can sign up for either £5 or £10 per month and receive regular bonus content. There's no new Patreon episode this week, but we are in the middle of our current Singer's Choice mini-season. So for 3 episodes, I'm joined by singer Kathy Tattersfield for songs chosen by her, and last week's episode we looked at Roud 13,309, that's 13309, which is a song called The Fiddle, or As Jockey on One Summer's Morn. So sign up to hear this and more at patreon.com/intheroud. And so we move on to the second half of this episode. To chat more about the Ballad of Child Maurice and plenty of other things too, I was joined for this episode by a singer who actually was my very first ever singer guest on the podcast. I'm thrilled to have him back now. So I hope you enjoy my interview with singer, multi-instrumentalist, songwriter and Bellowhead frontman John Boden. Well, hello and welcome back to In the Roud. John Boden, hello.
Hello, Matt. How lovely to see you.
Likewise.
Very good to be back on the podcast.
I know, it's been, this is the 2nd of March, we're recording this, of 2026, and so therefore you were on, it was episode 1 of season 1, but that went out on the 8th of May of 2024, so we're not far off 2 years since.
Blimey, yes.
So,
well, it's been what a fantastic success it's been as well. Congratulations on it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, it's it's strange to say as if it's taken off the way I expected it to, but it has it's taken off a bit like I expected to. It's just getting bigger and bigger as it goes. And,
yeah.
And we started doing live episodes as well, which is exciting and terrifying at the same time, because I have to do it. Well, I've done one so far, but there are plans this summer, I think, to do Sidmouth and Whitby folk festivals. To do live
brilliant!
ones.
That's a very good idea. Yeah.
ongoing talks with to get that set up, but it involves a lot more prep than just doing it on a Zoom
and
thing.
You've kept going with it, which is more than can be said of mine and Eliza's podcast. Which
I wasn't going to mention that.
Well, we managed 3, but it was just scheduling, really. You know, like trying to fix up times to actually do the Zooms. So anyway, we might get back to it one day, but we're on hiatus.
The 2 or 3 I heard were very good.
Well, it was fascinating. Some of the stuff, yeah. We were about to do. Oh gosh, what's his name? Pills to Purge Melancholy.
Oh man, Thomas Durfee.
Thomas Durfee. Yes. We were about to do him, who was a really interesting character, but so he's the next one. But it might take us, a few years before we actually record it. So
that was Under the Leaves, wasn't it? That was called.
Yes.
It's all about collectors, wasn't it? That was the idea.
More about collectors than songs.
Yeah. So I've started doing that a bit myself, but on the Patreon.
Okay.
Because I have spotlight episodes. Listeners know this now, but as well as doing other songs from further on in the Roud Index, I'm doing spotlights that go round in a cycle of 4. So I do an episode on a collector with a guest. They're all with guests. An episode on a traditional singer. Episode on a region, as in like the song collecting in a certain region of the country or the world, and then a miscellaneous subject matter one. And I've covered Baring Gould and Kidson now.
Okay. Well, they're all such fascinating characters, aren't they? They were quite a bunch, really, when you start looking at them.
Yeah.
We did Child, who was. I thought, there's not going to be much, because he's just sat in his office, But then you find there's this amazing all these love letters from when he was a teenager, which is incredible. And then what's that? Oh, Hayward Sumner was the first one we did. Who was?
That's right. I'd never heard of Hayward Sumner.
Yeah, what a character. Well, it's because he kind of he did it for a year, folk song collecting, and then got bored and decided to become a
that's right,
archaeologist or whatever.
It was just one little book, wasn't it, of songs and collectors?
Yeah, which he illustrated as well, beautiful illustrations. So so it's just that all those Edwardians and Victorians are just kind of what an interesting bunch they were.
Yeah, and how and the differences between the two that I covered so far. I mean, Martin Graeber came on and talked about Baring Gould because he's the only one who should talk about Baring Gould.
Sure.
I'm reading his book at the moment. It's astonishing.
Yeah, it's on my to read list. Yeah. Sat next to my my increasingly large pile of books.
Same here. Buying them faster than I can read them. And so Baring Gould went out and he collected everything. And then I had Katie Ryder come on and talk about Frank Kitson. And Frank Kitson, did go out, I think, and collect stuff, but predominantly his collection is everyone sent him things.
Sending him stuff, like Lucy Broadwood, I guess, a lot.
And Child as well, I suppose. It's astonishing that sort of. Consequently, Frank Kitson is Yorkshire, but a lot of his stuff's not from Yorkshire.
Right, yeah.
Because they're all from Liverpool and places of people in Liverpool sending him texts and things,
Yeah. Well, quite an efficient way of doing it, I guess, isn't it?
Yes.
Put the word out.
It's working from home, working from home.
Yes, working from home.
It's just, it's this kind of job that doesn't get stalled by a pandemic.
Yeah.
Or something, Anyway, I don't want to go on to that subject. That's a sore point for all of us. But I think, and I have a vague memory of listening to your not Kidson, Hayward Sumner episode of Under the Leaves, and I think you sang this song on that episode because I think there might have been a version in Hayward Sumner's book.
What, Charles Morris?
Yeah, no. Okay,
no.
My brain is. I should have listened to it again before.
Maybe
you sang something, and I could have.
Oh no, yeah, I sang something. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. It was like it was a kind of Seasons Round type song, I think.
Was it? Okay,
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Never mind. Well, that's that segue ruined. I was
sorry.
I thought
ruined the segue.
I thought I was being really clever there.
Yeah.
Anyway, this song. So we heard we heard Sandra and myself, but hopefully mostly Sandra, talking about Child Maurice, about the history and all the sort of the other things that went on with it, like the play and everything.
Yeah.
Obviously the sort of stuff.
Well, I've got an extra bit of Child Maurice adaptation interest for you.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, you'll like this one.
Oh, good.
Brother Cadfael. Book 2, I think, is called The Virgin in the Ice, and it uses the plot from Child Maurice.
Sorry, because I've never heard of Brother Cadfael. I'm looking it up now, and okay.
Never heard of Brother Cadfael. Oh, you've got a treat in store. Yeah, the TV adaptations with Derek Jacobi are excellent.
Oh, okay, right.
And I think it's a bit difficult to. I was just looking online because I definitely spotted it whilst watching it. I kind of got the box set, just before Netflix was a thing. Faye and I got the box set of Cadfael and worked through it, and I remember going, "Wait, hang on. That's Child Maurice, So I'm pretty sure it's The Virgin in the Ice, but like all these murder mysteries, they've got sort of 18 other plots going on as well. But one of the subplots is
the Cadfael Chronicles. That's what they're called.
Yes, Ellis Peters.
The Virgin in the Ice. It's book 7 apparently.
Okay, right.
But nevertheless, okay, it's
yeah. But
right.
but it's it was one of the ones they televised, so you can.
I've just looked. I'm just skimming the plot on Wikipedia, and it ends with when Olivier calls Cadfael blah blah blah. Cadfael realizes that Olivier is his own son.
Yeah, so I saw that, and that confused me because I thought, has the search gone wrong? But I think that's another subplot. So I think that.
Oh, okay. All right, fine.
I think there's a separate subplot.
But somewhere in there.
I'll see if I got the DVDs kicking around. I'll lend you, and you can have a look.
Cheers.
But I'm pretty sure that was it. Yeah.
Well, you can bring it round, and we can do a double bill of that and the Ballad of Tam Lin.
Yeah.
Which we still haven't done yet.
Have to do that. Yes, no.
The Blu-ray is still on my shelf, so it's
excellent.
Waiting for you.
Yeah.
Waiting for Boden. That's a play. No. Anyway. Well, brilliant. I mean, as I was saying to Sandra, I think this. I'm surprised this hasn't been done more, with the idea of these old ballads being sort of deliberately or accidentally turned into other art forms.
Yeah.
But then we keep finding examples of them.
It's
fascinating, because I mean, I'm recording this is the 2nd of March, so I'm a couple of days away from releasing the episode before the one we're on now, the Little Musgrave with Frankie Armstrong.
Yes.
And we were talking about this as well, and saying that has there been any kind of.
I mean, you would think that would have been a film, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think there's a novel or something. This is weird. I've recorded the interview with Frankie, and I'm pretty sure she said there was something, but now I can't remember because I've done 3 interviews since then. But we can all find out this Wednesday, on the 4th of March.
Yeah.
But we were talking about this there as well. That because there's films like The Ballad of Tam Lin and now this TV thing that you mentioned, or the book rather, and it's just like, I'm surprised this hasn't been like a regular thing. People haven't.
Yeah.
Some enterprising BBC TV executive who has a passing interest in folk song hasn't said, let's get someone like, I don't know, whoever in to go through the child ballads and pick 5 or 6 that could be turned into TV episodes. And do like, BBC presents the child ballads or something in TV.
Well, like they did for Shakespeare, the animated Shakespeare tales. That would be a good model for it.
That's right.
Excellent.
Frankie was saying. I mean, listeners will heard this last week, but Frankie was saying that the Tam Lin, Leon Rosselson turned Tam Lin into a kind of animated kids book.
Okay, right.
That kind of followed the plot, kind of the broad strokes of the plot, without too much of the sort of the horrendous stuff that kids might not want to read about. But nevertheless, so there's that. And
well, I guess a lot of the ballads are quite like the stories aren't. There's not a lot to them. Like they might last a long time in ballad form, but they're even this one, it's not. Like you struggle to get 90 minutes out of it,
Yeah, you really have to pad it out
subplots,
a bit.
Which I guess is what Cadfael have done. But and this is one of the more complicated plots. I mean, I was looking at Babylon the other day, and it's like, yeah, there's just nothing in that plot. It's just,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we
do you want to be my wife? No, dead. Do you want to be my wife? No, dead. No, dead. Oh, you're my sister. That's it. I mean, that's it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that is it. And we did that season 3, the Bonnie Banks of Fordy.
Yes,
that one. We covered that one. So yeah, it's
great.
Yes.
I mean, and a great song, but the sort of the drama in the ballads is often that. It's weird. Sometimes they're very fast moving, aren't they? Like this happened, then this happened. Then sometimes you have these, repetition sections, and you're like, "Yeah, come on, we know what." But that's actually the drama of it, isn't it? It's like it's going through that process of repetition.
Yeah,
sort
absolutely.
of pads it and gives that sort of tension, which I guess is quite difficult to replicate in other art forms.
I guess so. I mean, some songs, especially some of these old child ballads are, plot light, and a lot of it comes from repetition or just sort of details and things. But then some are extremely plot heavy, like Tam Lin, for examul. It's
a lot of plot,
and Little Musgrave as well is quite plot heavy in the end as well.
Yes.
And like when I saw you sing a couple of weeks ago, your gig with John Spies in Sheffield, which we've covered on the podcast as well already, Hindhorn.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on that, which you've managed to condense to about 2 minutes or so. By getting through it so fast that you actually have to tell the plot before you sing it.
Yeah. It's one approach.
Yeah, just get through it and just get at a rate of knots. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite in favour of very long ballads as well, but sometimes you just want to whip through it, don't you? I guess this one, Child Maurice, me and John, that's halfway house, really, because we whip through it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Until we get to the dramatic bit, and then we actually slow it not slow it down in terms of tempo, but in terms of pacing, slow it right down,
Even you say you whip through it, I mean, because it's on the album you made called Songs back in 2006, it's still 7 minutes, 11 seconds.
Yeah, well, I suppose also whipping through it with an accompanied arrangement is still going to be longer because you're going to have instrumental sections, all that.
That's right, of course, yeah.
But yeah, no, yes, I guess it is quite long thinking about it, yeah.
But not as long as some.
Not as long as some
ballads. But then, we're talking Martin Carthy gets through Bill Norrie in 5 minutes.
Right.
And that's with breaks and with his customary Martin Carthy-esque playing the melody twice between every verse sort of thing.
Yeah.
Not good. That's a bit of over-exaggeration, but it is that sort of thing.
I was thinking about the Carthy version, and also Sandra sang a little bit of the Ewan MacColl. I don't know the Ewan MacColl version, but I could kind of picture it from Sandra's little bit of it and description of it. And it strikes me that the big difference between my approach to this song and their approaches to this song is I think I was really attracted to the humour in it. I think it's really quite a funny song,
right?
Like, I mean,
I'm yet to be convinced, but
maybe it's just me. Well, I just think there's something quite sort of pantomime about it. Quite sort of slapstick. You've got the the first character that Child Maurice turns up, and he's this kind of foppish, sort of very good looking but rather stupid kid, and he's sort of like, I mean, even that the first conversation with the page, and the page is like, yeah, I don't want to do this, so if you make me do it, I'm gonna muck it up. And Child Maurice is like, oh no, don't, I'm not worried about you mucking up, you're a good little boy. I mean, it's sort of, I mean, he's not an attractive character, I don't think, but he's quite a comic, sort of stupid character, really. And then you get him turning up, and that whole conversation with the nurse is quite funny, I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous. He sort of turns up and he says, yes, I've got a secret message. It's this, everyone. And then the nurse is like, sort of, Oh yes, it's for me, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm sure you're not. I'm sure the Lord's Lady is not you, So there's a kind of slapstick element, and then he gets dressed up in his petticoats, and even the beheading I think is quite funny, I mean, it's quite obviously quite macabre, but it's just like he chops his head off, sticks it on a pole. And then the whole thing of he just chucks it at his wife and says, "Here, play football with it." I mean, it's very macabre, but it's quite funny until the denouement, when you realise that this is not funny at all. This is a mother losing her son, and I think that's what's for me, that's the really exciting bit about the song, is it's sort of it's sort of this sudden change of tone at the end, from basically. I mean, I almost think of it as a bit Carry On, the first thing. I mean, we used to, when we haven't done this on stage for ages, but I always used to introduce it with quite a long introduction, and I'd say, this child Maurice is this young, good-looking, sort of slightly foppish guy, played by Orlando Bloom, of course, which there's a slightly dated reference now, but at the time
there was a time when he was particularly sort of foppish and wooden acting and stuff, and
so exactly. So it was him in his sort of pretty boy days, and then Lord Bernard, of course, played by Alan Rickman,
of course.
Although actually, I was thinking about it just now, and actually, when I sing it, I don't think I'm thinking of Alan Rickman. I think I'm thinking of Brian Aldridge from The Archers.
Yeah, fair enough.
Kind of like slightly malevolent character, but also capable of remorse and or whatever. But I can sort of see Brian Aldridge getting dressed up in petticoats and going cutting off the head of some kid he thinks Jenny's having an affair with. Sorry, this is niche within niche, but there we go.
Yeah. Well, I think there is a fine line between. I mean, I've heard people talk about this before, but not on the podcast, but in general, I think there is a fine line between sort of comedy and not quite taboo, but stuff that feels quite dangerous. Its subject matter.
Yeah.
There is a fine line sometimes between it being funny and it being not funny.
It also reminds me of that sort of Shakespearean definition of the difference between comedy and tragedy, and the only difference is how it ends. There's no distinction in tone in Shakespearean comedy and tragedy.
Yeah, that's true. And in terms of cinema, people, I can't remember who said this. It might have been Charlie Chaplin or someone said that comedy is a story in long shot and tragedy is comedy in close up or something. There's a difference there where once you look at the details, it's quite awful, but if you look back, it's actually quite funny.
Yes.
It's that thing of looking back on something that wasn't very funny at the time, but you look back on it a year later and you think, actually, that was quite funny.
Yeah,
and I remember John Cleese talking about something to do with A Fish Called Wanda. We're really off topic now, but he was talking about the days when you had to, if you made a film, you'd put it in front of a test audience and they'd fill in cards that said, what bits did you like? Did you think the ending worked? And this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then it might go back and the film might get a couple of rewrites and a couple of reshoots. And one of the things one of the questions was, name the top three things you thought, the funniest three things in the film for you. And consistently across the board on the test cards were the three funniest things were Michael Palin killing the dogs, Michael Palin with the chips up his nose, and John Cleese naked speaking Russian. And then on the next page of the test cards, it was, what are the three things that offended you most about the movie? And the top three answers were Michael Palin killing the dogs, Michael Palin with chips up his nose, and John Cleese naked speaking Russian. And it's the top three things.
Two things very close. Yeah. Well, I guess that's and that that thing with this shocking scene of the severed head being used as a football. It is shocking and upsetting, and yet also quite funny. In the way it's. Or at least I
well, I guess in concept it's quite funny, but again...
Well, it's the way you say... I mean, it's different text, but, lady play at ball, it's such a kind of like... there's something quite sort of slapstick about that, don't you think? Here you go. You can sort of imagine Will Ferrell.
Yes, there is something
delivering that line. So I don't know.
But again, I think maybe in long shot, if you look from a distance, quite a comical image, but once you get into close up and in the details, you realise.
And when you realise that it's her son, then
Yeah.
suddenly, yeah, exactly. So no, I think it's. I mean, it's obviously an absolutely devastating, horrific story as well. But it's just, the thing is, a lot of these things, the way one responds to it is different when you know what's going to happen.
Yes.
So you, and it's tricky with folk song because you also have to assume that people will listen to it many, many times. So you can't. It's not like a film where you kind of can't judge it properly unless you've never seen it before, if you see what I mean, because it's designed for first viewing, whereas folk songs aren't necessarily. But in this case, I feel like the first time you hear this song is probably, that's the big experience, is the first time, because you're not expecting the twist. And I almost think as a performer, it's part of your job not to flag it up,
Sure.
so actually to set it up as quite a silly, funny story, and then I think then the impact of going, and actually this is what's going on, is that much more sort of hard hitting because you're not expecting it. Whereas I kind of feel if you perform it in a sort of something terrible's going to happen kind of a tone, then you're kind of expecting it. So I guess that maybe is where our arrangement came from, because and why we chose that tune, I guess, which is quite a jolly tune.
Yeah.
Interesting that Sandra said it was a Shetland tune. I was just having a look at it, and it's.
Yeah, I decided not to argue with that.
No, well, it isn't in the sense that it was originally written by Harry Clifton for the song "Dark Girl Dressed in Blue," so it's actually a music hall song.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting that this is a bit of a sidebar, but the B part of the what I thought of as an English country dance tune is straight from the Harry Clifton song, so that sort of hasn't changed. But what has changed is the A part is in the original song. It's not a Mixolydian tune; it's a straight major tune.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so and in fact, the only flat seven in the whole song is the penultimate bar, which you can sort of imagine in a music hall context is more like a secondary dominant kind of modulation thing going on. It's quite kind of Victorian harmony, but because it obviously got picked up as a tune somewhere, and it may well be that somewhere was Ireland, actually, because Harry Clifton was, he toured in Ireland and was very popular in Ireland. So I think it makes sense that it might have sort of been picked up in Ireland, and that's flat seven at the end of the B part. If you're used to playing Mixolydian tunes, which is much more a feature of Irish music, than it's quite unusual in English music, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. But then again, that I played that tune every week when I was a resident musician at the Royal Oak Folk Club on a Thursday in Lewis,
Yeah.
which is what I have a bit of dim memory of you singing this song there once,
Right, yeah.
back in that sort of 2006-7 era. That was a tune we played every week as part of the opening tunes for the night. It's just
Right, yeah,
And
yeah.
I always thought, well, these all must be Sussex tunes until I learned
yeah.
a bit more about where tunes came from and things. But I just they always, I think, because the way tunes travel and the way that tunes get adapted to the style of the player.
Yeah.
This to me just sounds like a Southern English tune because I spent years upon years playing it with my dad, who's like the most English of English melodeon players.
Well, I think your dad might have. I saw something about that the Old Swan Band had got it from an Irish source, so that's
Right.
what also makes me think it might be Irish. But as I say, I think it is an Irish version of an English music hall song, so it's
Sure.
it's a kind of
It's a well-travelled.
well-travelled. I don't know where Sandra got the Shetland thing, but except that it does look like there are versions all over the place, so it may well be that there's a Shetland version.
It may well have turned up there, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I just picked it for this song because I think I just wanted quite a jolly tune to go with it, because I was drawn to the sort of humour of it, and I guess because it's got that Mixolydian element to it.
So it's a bit like the plot of the song. In fact, it's all jolly until the last second.
Exactly.
The tune
the sort of
mirrors
discord
the
comes,
tune mirrors the mood of the song.
I think that's right.
That's very clever. If that was what you thought at the time.
I don't know if I consciously thought it, but and I think also, I mean, it's something I've done a bit. I mean, following the lead of people like Mark McCarthy, obviously, but finding 32-bar country dance tunes for ballads, I find quite useful because they're sort of longer. The long form melodies compared to the actual ballad melodies that you tend to find, in Bronson or whatever.
Yeah.
And that certainly for accompanied arrangements, I think it gives you a lot more scope to whip through the plot, basically, because you fit two verses into one, basically,
Sure, yeah.
And you've got more to play with,
Because you did that for Bold Sir Eyeless as well, wasn't it?
Bold Sir Eyeless and Hindhorn, and also...
Oh, was that Hindhorn? Because, turns out Bold Sir Eyeless and Hindhorn are Roud number neighbours.
Ah, right. Right, yeah. Well, we actually wrote the B part for that, but it is a 32-bar tune.
Yeah.
And the other one was Iron Legs for... Dear Mother Died When She Was... Which Faye recorded. I can't remember what it's called now. Ken Poen.
I did not clock that. Well done.
That's Iron Legs, yeah. But yeah, so I mean, it works quite well. I mean, whether it works quite as well unaccompanied, I don't know. I quite enjoy singing this one unaccompanied, but there is something about those shorter sort of 16-bar melodies that really does suit unaccompanied performance, I think. And I think what Sandra was saying about, Ewan McCall's sort of technical brilliance in delivering a simple tune, rhythmically, and yet managing to tell this story at the same time. I mean, that is really impressive. That is something that I think is unique to unaccompanied singing, maybe. Like that, or it's unique's the wrong word, but it's a particular feature and strength of unaccompanied singing, which I think isn't. It's harder to get that once you get instruments involved. I think you need a sort of broader palette melodically, I think, once you get instruments involved.
Yeah, I've certainly found that sometimes you have to do a bit more work on accompanying a melody sometimes when it's sometimes a melody of either limited sort of range or limited whatever. If you try and put an instrument underneath it, you have to, if you want to keep that melody, you do have to do a bit more work.
You can end up sort of overwhelming, a sort of little 4-note melody or whatever. If it's quite easy to sort of swamp it, isn't it, with instruments? Whereas unaccompanied is great,
Absolutely. The audience implies their own chords in their heads, I guess.
Exactly. Yes.
But then also, I guess, with a melody that's that like the Dark Girl Dressed in Blue, as that one's called, with it being, I mean, they are dance tunes, so they are sort of repeatable because that's how they work. Is that you can then effectively, like you did with Charboris, I'm looking at the words for your one, and you can just, if you want to add an extra line, you can just repeat the line of the tune again without doing anything else. You know, there are some where I thought, well, actually, it needs an extra line, but the melody doesn't really allow for a repeat or something. Yeah. And you have to really sort of do a bit of, take a scythe to the melody or something. But at least, because I'm looking at, because your first verse is 5 lines, and all you got to do with the extra line is just double up the, double up the 4th line, basically.
Yeah, which I think with this tune is particularly, it allows you to do that fortuitously, because we had to do it quite a few times to get through the song.
Yes, I know your second verse is 6 lines, so I guess you just repeated it twice, or did the entire 2-line B part again, Yeah. Probably.
And then later on we'd quite it's
mostly 4-line verses. Yeah. Until somewhere in the middle you get another 6 one, and then 4, and then a 5 line to end. I guess that all depends on the what's needed to be told within that stanza.
And I think certainly there are some lines, because it's because these country dance tunes have that sort of built-in lift for the B part. That's generally how they always work, isn't it? It sort of has it goes up, often up in terms of pitch, but it's certainly up in terms of sort of excitement, and so there will be certain bits of the story that just don't want to be, that feel like A part, text, and some that feel like B part text. So that's when you start, sort of shoving an extra B part on, and
and I guess
indeed an extra A part,
Yeah. I guess the difference, the other thing with what you did particularly is that with a 4-line verse, you're effectively sort of playing it with the melody playing AABB in that kind of dance tune style, and then an extra B for an extra line or whatever. Is that a lot of times with song melodies and child ballad melodies, it's kind of the format is AABA rather than AABB.
Yes.
So it goes back to that initial melody to round out a verse.
Yes, that's very true, and that's not true of country dance tunes generally.
Yeah, they are there, but they're not as common as.
Yeah.
As
Morris tunes do that more, don't they? I suppose
so. Yeah.
But yeah. Well, it's an interesting business setting. Finding tunes. I think particularly for long ballads, as I say, because it can obviously completely change the tone.
I'm doing this at the moment, but I'm not putting a dance tune to it. But I'm working up. I'm still in the putting the text together, but I'm very gradually working up a version of Sir Patrick Spens, going through all the different text and finding the lines I like and making up a new version.
Great.
And,
well, that's another classics 32 bar.
Yeah, exactly. Tune, and I'm using a different melody that long-time listener Gavin Atkin. Once we did the Sir Patrick Spens episode with James Fagan, obviously we talked about that famous melody that Nick Jones and then Martin Carthy used, because that's the one everyone uses.
Yes.
But there are quite a lot of different tunes in Bronson, tunes, the child ballads.
Yeah.
And Gavin Atkin recorded himself singing a different melody and sent it to me and said, "You should sing this one. I think it'd be really good with your voice." And it's a lot slower and quite melodic. And I've been working up a version with that myself.
Yeah,
it won't be ready for 300 years probably at the rate I'm going with it. But it was only it felt, I've had this with a couple of songs I do with George occasionally, George Sansom, is that at the end of each verse, the melody just sort of stops, and it feels like you've just hit the precipice of a cliff or something, and it feels like it needs to just go somewhere else briefly. And so I think I repeat the last line, but I've had to edit the way what the original end of the line ends so that it flows into
as a little refrain kind of
thing. Yeah, so I had to edit melodically the way the official line ends so that it flows into the repeat line. So I'm not averse to this sort of stuff, but it's hard work.
Well, speaking of editing, I suppose we should probably address the fact that I've.
Did you write this one yourself?
But I mean, this is quite a. What's the word? Callous.
Oh, I see.
Anglicisation.
You've been merciless with the shears and the crops.
Well, but linguistically, in terms of just, I mean, this is a Scottish song, and I've changed it to, English syntax basically. So I mean, and I think that's always a tricky thing, because people could rightly or reasonably anyway accuse me of sort of cultural appropriation or of not sort of respecting the original source. I don't know. I think that's quite a tricky thing. But then the thing I always come back to is I don't feel comfortable singing in an accent that is not my own.
Yeah, exactly.
And although I will sing dialect words that aren't of my own dialect, so to speak, but I don't want to. Somehow that feels right. So saying mickle seems fine, because that's a word from a different dialect that I don't have. But I don't have to sort of adopt an accent to say the word mickle. It's just a cool word,
Yeah, I mean, we did speak about this quite a lot last week with Frankie Armstrong on the Monster episode, because that's the same sort of thing happens there. It's in heavy Scots, and it just sounds stupid coming out of my mouth saying this stuff.
Yeah.
But then some words, like Mickle in the first verse of Child Morris, for you, you can't really translate that. You can't anglicise that word for it to mean the same thing, and it might not scan in the same way in terms of the line of the song, and there's all sorts of factors going.
Also, a lot of these dialect words, you could change them, but actually there is a richness to using that dialect that I mean, in terms of the actual words, there's a richness that I think you do lose. So it's always a bit of a balancing act, because on the one hand you want people to be able to understand it without explanation, but on the other hand you don't want to sort of debase what is after all a historical artifact to some extent, so I think it's just comes down to sort of the editorial judgment of whoever's putting the song together or singing the song or whatever.
But we still do that with it, even with, like, if you want to call it ye olde English or something, because some of these ballads are in a kind of an old English rather than an old Scots. And so, but we still keep, I mean, I know you in this one kept ere, E-R-E, or apostrophe E-R-E, because it's not apostrophe, is it? But it's ever, but it's the old version of ever.
For sure,
Because ever is 2 syllables and ere is 1 syllable.
Yeah, well, that's right. So you could, so I'm always like, can I swap this archaic term for a modern term? I mean, that's my default, is if I come across an archaic term, I'm like, can I swap this for a modern term?
Yeah.
And the answer is, with air, is always yes, but then you think, okay, but what have you lost by doing that? And quite often with air, it's a musical loss, because you say the syllables then become the wrong length. So so I think, with this whole process, just tend to go with what feels right to sing, and work on the basis that, I mean, if someone wants to say, look, you're an English singer, you shouldn't be singing Scottish songs, then that's a fair enough point of view, and I disagree with it, but it's a fair enough point of view. And I think it's quite I don't think people tend to think that. It's not something you hear very often.
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, if I'm allowed to sing a Scottish song, then should I be doing it in a Scottish accent? To which the answer is, I think, no. I know it sort of went backwards and forwards a bit in the 60s with the Critics Group and all that sort of thing, but I think generally people have now decided that it's weirder for an English person to put on a Scottish accent than it is for an English person to change the language so that it sounds more, and I think particularly this day and age where it's very, very easy to go online and hear the original. Yeah. My view is always it's you're sort of making a new thing to some extent, and that doesn't stop the old thing, or the source thing being there, and it's not like you're saying, look at this is better than, there's no sense that the original is, I don't think any sense that it's sort of debased by people sort of being, I mean, it's a bit like we were talking about people making movies out of these plots, or making, TV series out of it, actually making an anglicised ballad version of out of it is another, it's an offshoot of the actual thing, and the actual thing is that it's a Scottish unaccompanied song, from the 18th century, and that is the source, but it can sort of lead to all sorts of interesting other offshoots without that, I don't think, without it undermining the sort of original thing.
Yeah, I agree. And yes, I've keep coming across increasingly as I look at more longer ballads and older ballads. I find that sort of particularly, it might be an English word. I guess it's one of these things that has been sort of taken over by more modern parlance, but we always wonder whether I should be changing the word yestereen to something else, as in yester and then e apostrophe en, meaning last night.
Yeah.
But and in the end I've decided to keep it because it's so odd. It's just it's so odd in the fact that it's a word we don't hear anymore at all.
Well, and it's a useful word, isn't it? Yester. I mean, that's part of the thing. Is should we have lost these dialect words? Yestereen is quite useful, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And mickle, I think, is quite a useful word, but that we don't in England use anymore. But
no, and we don't use one anymore either. WAN.
No, one.
And that's in here. And it's obviously the song "Lucy One" is what I think most people will recognise.
Yeah.
But you've got, it's like the last verse of your version of Charles Maurice: "Bring pillows for my lady, she looks so pale and wan." I think within folk circles we just know what that means.
Yeah.
But outside it could be a...
You don't necessarily know. Well, we were talking about Hindhaugh. One of the things that's useful about explaining the story beforehand is I can also make sure that everyone in the audience knows what weeds means.
Oh, yes, of course. I remember we talked about that on the episode we did that song on, weeds.
Yeah, because, I mean, people sort of do, I think, if you're talking about, if you, in context, wearing women's weeds or whatever, they'll go, okay, that's good. But yeah, if I don't know, in that song anyway, I got very much got the impression people have no idea what was going on.
Yes.
Why is he lending him some dandelion leaves, you know, or whatever?
Yeah, and I remember you having this issue with, and I don't think no one ever quite got to the bottom of it with the song you sing. Oh, trying to drudge this up from my memory.
Oh, doldrums.
Doldrums in Tom Paget. Yeah.
Yes.
Did anyone ever come to a conclusion about what doldrums might have been?
Well, I came to the conclusion, but...
Wasn't there something about... Hang on a minute, let me try and remember this. Wasn't there something to do with seaweed hanging off rudders of ships that look like dreadlocks or something?
That's my conclusion.
Is that your conclusion?
Yeah, which you're right to mention weeds for, because the phrase I came across was doldrums weeds, which is when a ship's been stuck in the doldrums, literally stuck in the doldrums. It gets, the weed grows on the bottom of the boat, and then when it comes to harbour, it's wearing doldrums weeds, as in long seaweed trails. So that was my maybe wishful thinking conclusion, because the more conventional interpretation is just a very crude joke about the male member, which undermines the song. So for the benefit of the song, I'm sticking with doldrums weeds for that one. Anyway, those are a very big sidebar, but yeah, same sort of thing though. Yeah, very much. Yeah, I was just looking at the text though of the version me and John do on this linguistic subject, and I've noticed that I changed. Because I definitely remember singing "Take You Here, This Green Mantle." It's all aligned with the freeze.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure the original source is freeze, F-R-E-E-Z-E, F-R-I-E-Z-E, I think it is.
Okay.
Which I think is fur or something. I can't remember. And so, I mean, unless I'm making this up, but my recollection is it was freeze, and I was like, that's a weird word. I don't know if people are going to know what that means. If I change it for fleece, people will get, will know what I'm talking about. It's not exactly what it should have been, but it's, it's close enough, and it sounds close enough.
It kind of rhymes with the rest of the verse.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in fact, particularly because it would have rhymed better if I'd stuck with Maurice, but because I've gone for... So that's the other big change, of course.
I see, of course.
I've gone for Maurice, which I didn't like the word Maurice. It's
a bit French, isn't it?
It's
not
too
that
French,
that's a bad thing.
Not to sound xenophobic, but yeah, it just felt weird. It felt like it was sort of a distraction from the story that this guy was called Maurice. Why is he called Maurice? Sort of weird. So that's why I went for Maurice, because it was, close enough that... and that, I mean, you also got, of course, you've got Bill Norrie and other, it changes. It's not like it doesn't change in other versions, but the version I got it from was Child Maurice.
Right.
And so, yeah, so again, is that an imposition of mine? Is that too much of an imposition on the tradition? I don't know, but I'm glad I did it, because I feel much happier about the song. And I guess that it's almost like I'm rebranding it because I'm consciously, because I'm aware that by rewriting it, not rewriting it, but just changing the language, is an imposition on the song. Then somehow giving it a new title feels like it's being quite open about the fact that that's what's going on. This is an anglicised version of the song.
Yeah, you didn't change it to I don't know, James Sproggs or something. It is still kind of reminiscent of what it was,
No, exactly. Yeah. No, it's pretty close. But obviously Maurice is a very English word.
Well, yes, of course. A lot of Morris music and Morris dancing, and there's that.
Morris
as well,
and William Morris and all. So yeah. So I feel good about it, but I feel a little nervous about it. Like I'm gonna get a letter from some serious sort of Scottish board of ballad infractions.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But then I kind of the same way, because whenever I see it written down as Child Maurice, I mean, we've titled this episode as Maurice, but I think even though I discussed this with Sandra before we started recording that history half, and I said, basically because when I see the word Maurice written down like that, all I can think of is Maurice Chevalier, because I'm a huge fan of Maurice Chevalier.
You're right. I just think of Maurice Sendak. So
okay, fair enough.
So tells you stuff about us both, I suppose.
Yes, so I'm a big fan of these late 1920s, early 1930s romantic comedies starring Maurice Chevalier, these musicals and things.
Yeah.
Which are just the best thing ever, and no one's ever going to get a chance to see them. But the most wonderful films, and so I did say to, in terms of the spelling, I guess more than how you say it, I did say to ask Sandra before we start recording. I said, "Are we calling this Child Maurice as in Morris dancing, or Child Maurice as in Maurice Chevalier?" And we went with Maurice, but then it's mostly pronounced. I think Sandra was pronouncing it more like Morris than Maurice.
Maurice, yeah.
So I think it's spelt Maurice, but you don't say it with a French accent, I guess.
The other thing that I remember trying to get my head around was whether to change Bernard's name. So the version I got through is Bernard, Burnard, and I don't particularly like Bernard. But then I was like, well, I'll just change it to Barnard because, But then I was like, yeah, it's a bit too close to Little Musgrave.
And it's the next Roud number. Not that you would have known that at the time,
but
it is the Roud. It is the Roud number after Little Musgrave and Lady Barnard.
Yeah,
which could be why Child. I mean, I think they are child ballad neighbours as well. Let me just.
Are they
check
right?
that.
Yes.
Oh no, they're not. They're 81 and 83. But 82 is Little Bonnie Bird, and that's got a very reminiscent plot of Little Musgrave, I think. And so I think these are all in a certain section of the child ballads because of plot similarities and character similarities, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I stuck with Bernard, but I've noticed that on Mainly Norfolk they've transcribed my version as Bernard as in Bernard, which is Lord Bernard. And then again a very another sort of English sounding. Well, that just makes me think of Prime Minister, but
George Bernard Shaw,
No, so Bernard is what I say, I think, isn't it? But yes, part of me has always slightly regretted not giving him a new name. There we go.
What would it have been, do you think, the new name?
I don't know. I don't know. I probably would if now that there's more. Now it's easier to look at the other sources. I mean, I did get this from Child, so I would have had the other Child version.
Okay, I was about to ask if the starting block for you for this one was a version that was in Child.
I think it was directly from Child, yeah. But it's possible it was sort of from one of the other, like the Oxford Book of Ballads or something.
Oh yeah, it would have been a book that published one of the versions from Child.
So it would certainly be someone that took it from. I mean, it's the version that I took it from was the Banffshire 18. I'm reading this, but 1826 from Widow Michael, a very old woman.
One of those very helpful descriptions of people.
Yeah. And that's definitely in Child because I've looked it up fairly recently. So I think I was probably looking through the actual Child. I'm trying to think when I actually bought the 5 volumes of Child, it probably would have been just about the time that we were doing this. So yeah, it was probably one of the first songs in my shiny new edition of Child. That, at which point I have got Bronson now, but at the time I didn't have Bronson, so there was no question of of tunes. It was like you had to find a tune for it, which. Funnily enough, I bought Bronson a few years ago, so I was like, right, I'm a grown-up now, I need to I need to have Bronson.
Yeah.
But I've yet to actually get a song out of Bronson, so it's interesting that sometimes it's more fertile ground when you don't know what the tune is, and you.
That's true. I mean, I've managed to use. I mean, I'm still not grown up. I've got a PDF copy of Bronson as my port of call.
Yes.
Which there's I think on Springtime Records, the record label that does a lot of Scott stuff, you can buy a physical copy of Child Anne Bronson from them, and with the Bronson comes a free CD that has the PDF on it.
The PDF,
and I'm pretty sure
right.
that what I've got is just that exact PDF rather than some like sneaky bootleg or someone actually scanning all of Bronson in just for me, you know.
Yeah. No,
So I'm pretty sure that's what I got. But yeah, there's a song I'm working up for me and George at the moment that I was doing because when we did the episode on the podcast of the Dowie Dens of Yarrow, I was going through Bronson looking for tunes because I was going to sing some of them in the episode as sightseeing some of them as examples.
Yeah.
And and then I kept going and I found one and thought, oh, that's an interesting text and tune. I thought, right, let's do that with George or something.
Yeah, I mean, I
have started doing that. You know.
Yeah, and whenever I've thumbed through it, as you say, you kind of go, oh, that's kind of interesting one. I just somehow haven't turned that into an actual sort of
haven't come to fruition
song
yet.
For me yet. But whereas there's something about the blank text, the blank page rather of just having the text and going, what do I think this should sound like, and then what tune would make that happen, whether it's an existing tune or you write a tune, you know.
Just even saying the words out loud. I think Martin Carthy talked about this a lot, not in terms of this song, but might have been in terms of the song Geordie or Georgie, talking about in terms of performing it. How would you say it out loud if you were just telling it this as a piece of poetry or a piece of prose? How would these lines be said out loud? Where would the pauses be? Yes. And if you do that even to yourself, you get an idea of what, if at all, what time signature this might be in.
Right.
And what kind of mood it gives you.
Yes, well, also the sort of, you quite often get a sense of the shape of the melody, don't you? Like, I guess it can change between verses, but certainly that first verse will generally give you some sort of. I remember, another sidebar, but sitting in John's car going to a gig, and I'd just bought the Vaughan Williams Bushes and Briars book, and I was just thumbing through it because we were, lots of pivotal moments in my career happen in traffic jams sat next to John Spires. But in this case,
I need to be in some traffic jams with John Spires.
Yes, everyone needs to be in traffic jams with John Spires. And just thumbing through it, and there was Horn Fair, and there was no melody, and I just wanted to take it, or maybe it was John's copy, that's right, and I wanted a copy of the text because I thought I might have a look at that. So I just improvised a melody onto a phone memo, and that's the tune that we use now, you know. And it was literally it was like the first time I'd read that whole, I think I sort of saw the title and thought, oh, Horn Fair, that sounds interesting, you know. And, but it's funny how texts, even though they're in standard meters, they're all in the same meter, but there's something about them that they do seem to sometimes have some sort of melody embedded in them. The other one was I wrote a tune for Poor Old Weaver's Daughter, again because it was from Folk Songs of the Upper Thames, so there was no tune, and then later came across Will Noble's tune, and it's not the same tune, but it's not 100 miles away, and it was sort of interesting that I sort of almost rewrote the existing tune, having not heard the existing tune. I do think that's something about the way the lyrics evolve in tandem with whatever tune they sort of have, and then so if you then take that tune away and then present it to someone who's sort of used to coming up with melodies, it's probably not surprising that they'll come up with a melody not dissimilar to the one that that's been removed. So anyway, that's not really the case with Child Maurice, because this is a pretty different.
I mean, I've just done that myself again. I've got a copy of Pryor's Ancient Danish Ballads translated into English, and
wow, it's
come in handy when Helen Lindley and I have come to the episodes on child ballads that no one's ever sung. The Pryor's Ancient Danish Ballads has come in quite handy.
Well, because is that what his? Well, he was he had there was that Danish scholar, wasn't it, that he got a lot of information from. But was that book also around in his day? Yeah,
it must have, maybe. And so, I've certainly. I mean, it came up when. I mean, the song Fair Annie, which isn't a child ballad that no one sung, but it's lesser sung. And there's definitely a version of Fair Annie in there, and there's a version of Hind Etin in there. Yeah. And so but I was looking at, this is the thing, this actually, exactly what you're talking about. I didn't write it, but I had a look at the Danish ballad that is clearly Fair Annie that's in there. And I was thinking, maybe I can sing this one day. I'll make up a melody. I'll just create something on the spot now. It might not be any good, but I'll just have a sing randomly of a few notes and see what happens. Yeah. And through a bit of trial and error, I came up with an entire melody. And I recorded that. I recorded a couple of verses of that on my phone, and I sent it to Debbie Armour, who was the guest on that episode, the Fair Annie episode. Yeah. And she sent me a photograph because she's got, not prior, but she's got ancient Danish ballads translated into Scots. And she was going through it, and she'd looked at Fair Annie, and she'd written a melody that was not identical, but it was very similar to what in mood and a couple of not even in the same notes, but in the kind of the way the melody went up and down. We both come up with the same thing, more or less.
That's amazing.
And sometimes the text and the mood of the piece kind of dictates a certain melodic style.
I think that's right.
But then you just went to any old English dance tune and put it to Child Maurice,
But I guess not any,
but not any old. But
it's what unusually it's a Mixolydian. I think the fact that it's Mixolydian is not.
This wouldn't have worked with the
quite
tune.
Critical. Yeah.
This wouldn't have worked with the tune you put Bold Cyrillus to, for example,
or indeed to the original tune of Dark Girl Dressed in Blue. Which do you want to hear it? It goes like, from a village up the Hudson to New York when I came to see the park called Central and all places of great fame. But what I suffered since I came, I now will tell to you, how I lost my heart and my senses too, through a dark girl dressed in blue.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that's the original tune.
I always wondered if the last line of the tune was the words "dark girl dressed in blue." Because it does sound like that, and I always wondered if that was the case. You get songs...
well, I mean, I suppose the only thing is it's possible Harry Clifton could have borrowed an existing tune, but it doesn't sound like it to me when you see the song. It's quite an unusual tune. Like finishing on the subdominant is pretty unusual.
On the fourth of the scale, absolutely.
Yeah, but
I can only think of that tune. Old Molly Oxford does that as well.
Yes. But then these musical guys did some pretty wacky harmony. Like we were just singing, the Miner's Dream of Home.
Oh yeah.
Sort of is sung in Dungworth, after Christmas, and it's like, God, blimey, there's a lot of secondary dominance in that.
Yeah, it's not as simple as some songs,
No, I mean it's pretty chromatic, So it's interesting how that sort of chromaticism of the Victorian harmony gets sort of translated into a pretty straight Mixolydian tune. I mean, there are a couple of sharp sevens, aren't there, in the B part, but still, Anyway, it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, this is not a widely sung. We were talking about it on the first half with Sandra. On the traditional side, the field recordings things, not a widely sung song.
No.
In fact, we've only got one field recording to hear, and a mention of another one in the James Carpenter collection, which is probably unlistenable anyway because it's a wax cylinder from 1929, 1935. So it might not as old as some.
Might be right. It's more to do with how often they're played, I think, isn't it? Because it just degrades on every
listen, and also how they're stored. But you expect archives who would specialise in this to store them correctly.
I think if it's not smashed, it's probably all right. But
that's the story of Martin Carthy being given access to some wax cylinders might have been in the BBC archives, and he just picked one up and it just shattered in his hands.
No,
he didn't apply any pressure to it; it just collapsed.
No. They're pretty dodgy. My great grandfather is another side part. But my great grandfather, Alphonse Carey.
Alphonse,
this is
fantastic.
Yes, Alphonse Carey. Yeah, he would have liked child Maurice, wouldn't he? But so he ran a music shop in Newbury in the sort of 1900s. Well, up until the 1960s, I think. Well, the shop was open to the 1960s, but anyway, one of the things he used to do is people would go in with, and they'd have heard the sort of latest song that was going around, and he'd sell them the sheet music. And then, if they wanted to, he would get one of the shop boys to come and play the piano, and he would sing it for them there and there onto a wax cylinder. And then they'd go out of the shop with a wax cylinder. So I hope that one day my great-great-grandfather will turn up on a wax cylinder,
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Because it's definitely, there must have been quite a lot of them around, but the problem is, because it's wax, as you say, it's very easy to get broken. So.
Yeah. That reminded me of another side thing. I've seen that in films where, particularly like films of the 1940s, there was one set in a music shop. I can't remember what it was called or who was in it or anything, but it's sort of thing where someone would come in, browse through the sheet music, and they go to the store assistant and say, "Could I hear this, please?" And she'd go over to the person with the piano, and they'd sing it for the customer. And so the next step after that is, I'll record it onto this.
Stick it on wax cylinder, yeah. I mean, it's very simple.
Yeah,
he was a bit of a wide boy, though. You occasionally, there are some Kerry concertinas kicking around.
Oh,
they're actually nationals, but he'd buy them in and then stick a Kerry label on them.
Well, there we go. You have some mildly dubious pedigree there. I think. You see the word Kerry; it's somehow linked to you, but not really. That's fantastic. Yeah. Anyway, so on the trad sort of revival side, on the trad sort of field recording side, all we've got is this recording of Martha Stewart, and then a mention on wax cylinder of Peter Christie of Stonehaven in the Carpenter collection. But then again, it's not the most widely sung song in the revival either. I mean, I think for a lot of people on the revival, the key text for this song is Martin Carthy.
Is Bill Norrie.
Is Bill Norrie from Martin Carthy. I mean, he gives the information he gives on like the sleeve notes that's his 1988 album on Topic Records called Rite of Passage, which is a phenomenal album. And the 2.5 lines he gives as sleeve notes gives you no indication whatsoever of where he got it from, what he's done to it. But then his sleeve notes never did that. So you had to ask him.
He did, yes. Although he normally says if he's completely written the tune, doesn't he? Does he? Have you asked him? Do you know if he?
No, I've never asked him. But the sleeve notes that he wrote just says that the world is full of walking emotional time bombs will come as no news, nor should it be surprising that people have sung about it for a long time. Neither Bill Norrie nor the unnamed woman in the song have told another, dearest or nearest, the true nature of their relationship, and the countdown starts at once. That's what it says. What I found is Martin Carthy's sleeve notes, certainly on the Waterston Carthy albums and the Brass Monkey albums, his sleeve notes tend to be 3 pages of prose in which he'll go through all the songs not in the order they're on the album, and he'll just write some stream of consciousness that brings up all of the songs.
Yes,
which is fascinating, and I don't know how he did it. But,
right.
But consequently, he never goes into the thing most people do nowadays, which is this is a version from so and so. I edited it a bit, wrote a tune, did this, that, and the other. Whereas he just writes stuff about what he thinks about the song. Which is great in one respect, but when you come to this sort of thing, we want to know what he did with it. You have to go to the mouth of the horse,
You do, or you sort of take the view, which, and I veer between these two things, but like with Bert Lloyd or whatever, you kind of think, well, if he didn't want us to know, then maybe that's part of the, that's part of the artistic output, is that we don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Although I guess that no one's Brian Peters isn't going, like he did with the Bert Lloyd stuff, he's not going to do a big Martin Carthy expose.
Take down
of, here's what Carthy did that you didn't know about, in terms of song editing rather than anything else.
But it is interesting that sometimes in the revival, people would say I wrote this tune, and other times they'll sort of,
Yeah.
you know, they'll sort of hint at it, but not quite say. I don't know. I find it quite interesting,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm currently working on a book version of Folk Song a Day, so I'm doing quite a lot of this. You know, working out what tunes are trad or what are written, or what are that sort of in between space, which I think is most of them really. You know, they're based on a traditional tune, but someone's done a bit to it and someone else has done a bit to it. But anyway, yeah, I don't know how that applies to Bill Norrie, and my suspicion is that my guess is that Martin just wrote it, but
he certainly, a lot of it feels very.
Well, it's those big jumps sometimes give it, you know, dum da 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 dum dum.
Oh, I mean, Sandra and I mentioned that whole, like, it's an octave leap between the third of the scale, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very unlikely to be, but you know, for it to be a traditional melody. But that doesn't mean it couldn't be influenced by, you know.
Yeah.
I was talking to Maddie about this, and she was saying that her and Tim couldn't read music, so quite often the melodies they came up with follow the shape of the written music.
Oh yeah, Maddie mentioned that because she was on last season, and she mentioned that as well. And the shape of the melody rather than the exact notes.
Not that applies to Martin because he can read, but
Martin's great. I mean, there's a whole book. There's a book called A Sussex Tune Book, which is Vic Gammon and Annie Loughran going around all the Sussex manuscripts and taking the best tunes from all of the different local village fiddler manuscripts and whatever, and putting them in a book. And it says on the cover of the book, music drawn by Martin Carthy.
Oh, right.
And he did it all on train journeys, so sometimes some of the notes are a bit dubious because the train probably hit a bump and his pen went slightly to the next line above on the stave, you know.
Right.
There's a couple of notes occasionally we think, I don't think that's right.
Oh,
I think
what's that called?
It's called A Sussex Tune Book.
A Sussex Tune
I'll lend you my copy if you want.
Yeah, I'll have a look.
So I think Martin has changed a lot because obviously I reckon, we're not going to do an in-depth analysis of Martin's Bill Norrie, but nevertheless, it's Bill Norrie, not Child Maurice, so the name's changed, but there is, I think, some child ones. There's one child one that's Bob Norris, isn't there, and other things. Yeah. So I think it's not far off, but he's taken all the Lord and, I mean, Lady is still there, but it's not Lord Bernard or Lord anything.
Right.
I don't think he's got a name at all. I'm scanning through his... We've got a friend Billy is in there. Young Bernard. Oh, friend John and dear John, and do you see what I see? Here's a ring, John. Oh, friend Billy. Well, that's Bill again, obviously. And the lady doesn't get a name, so it's John, I think, or is John the page? I can't tell. I think John might be the page equivalent, and the husband.
And does that not tally with any child versions?
I don't know. I haven't done that kind of comparison.
Need to do an AI.
Great.
AI compare Bill.
But then
Norrie
later on, it's just husband. He had a long knife. It hung down his knee, and he took the head of young Billy and off his fair body. And so I think the husband gets unnamed as well. Almost a kind of equal opportunities unnaming going on with the lady and the husband. You know,
it's funny talking about it because I remember I'd heard Bill Norrie because Faye used to sing Bill Norrie.
Oh yeah,
but and this is quite a bad admission, but I think I had never really listened to the story of Bill Norrie. Because I didn't have that album of Martin's. I'd heard him do it and I'd heard Faye do it, but I don't always listen to the stories of ballads. It's quite, which is, I think, slightly informs the way I perform them because I assume that people have a similar attention span to me. I'm not very good. So I actually didn't realise that Child Maurice was Bill Norrie until after we'd recorded it.
Okay.
I think Eliza mentioned it because she was sort of like, "Oh, I see you're doing Bill Norrie." I was like, "What? No, I don't think we are." I was like, "Oh, right, okay, it's the same story." So I actually never really engaged with Bill Norrie, until after doing this, and as I say, I've seen Martin do it a few times, and it's a pretty extraordinary piece of music.
That melody, not just that octave leap, but as Sandra said, it ends on the third of the scale as well, which is even more unusual than ending on the
very
fourth.
Weird. Yes, well, I think some people have done it as a what's the third mode called? I can't remember.
It's the one with the flattened second at the beginning. Phrygian, is it Phrygian mode? I think, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Locrian is the one right at the end, the seventh. So I think it's Phrygian is the other weird one, yeah.
I think I've heard people do it as a Phrygian, harmonise it as a Phrygian song.
That third of the scale is in fact the first of the scale.
Becomes the one, yeah.
Ooh.
Which is also what Carthy did with Lucy 1, isn't it? Because
no, Lucy 1's in the
it's
fourth
Dorian.
of the scale.
Well, no, but that's the thing. I think it's actually kind of Dorian, but finishes on the 3.
Oh, okay. This is
but then if you stick a relative major chord under it, then it becomes
yeah. But then Martin, I don't think he thought. Well, not that he thinks about this sort of thing, but I think his melody starts on. It feels like the one of the scale the way it starts. I wonder whether
what Bill Norrie does.
Yeah, Bill Norrie. Ba 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 da 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 da. I think if he thought it was, or if it was a Phrygian mode melody, it would have started on the third of the scale as well, maybe.
Interesting though, because the only other Phrygian song I know is John Kirkpatrick. Digging graves is my delight.
Oh no, okay, so that's Locrian mode. That one, that's definitely Locrian mode. It's the 7 to 7. Yeah.
Okay.
He wrote that. Sorry, not to disagree with you, but he wrote that deliberately because there's no song in the Locrian mode.
Yeah. No, I just wondered how soon after John Kirkpatrick wrote that did Martin write the tune for?
Oh, a long time later. That's on like John's first album, I think.
Okay, right. Okay, well, scrub all that then. There's no connection.
No, but nevertheless, I think if it was a Phrygian mode melody, it might have started on the third as well, on the what would be the first in the Phrygian mode, but.
Yeah,
we're getting a bit technical here for a lot of musos. But yeah,
usually there's a huge market for a whole hour talking about modes.
Oh yes, absolutely.
On a podcast.
That's a Patreon episode, I think. The modes in relation to folk song melodies. That's the Patreon. But nevertheless, Martin's song Bill Norrie is. It's kind of one of he's got quite a few of them, but one of his big numbers. It's. One of the songs he'll be remembered for, that and Famous Flower Serving Men, Prince Heathen, these Sir Patrick Spens, these epic ballads that he's effectively written, I think, in some cases. And this is me flying the flag for the death of Andrew. I think should be the death of young Andrew should be in the same.
Oh, I don't know that one.
No, it's the one that I sing with George Sansom. But I see. Right. But it's one of his long ballads that he did a major rewrite of. That I think should be mentioned in the same sentences as but isn't. Anyway, that's my bugbear about people's view of Martin Carthy. They don't think about that song as often as the rest of them.
As they should, yeah.
But nevertheless, other versions sung, around a lot of people who do sing it and release it have just sung Bill Norrie. I mean, not that that's a bad thing. It is so good. Why not sing it? As you said, Faye sang it. And Faye got it from Damien Barber, I think, and we know that Damien Barber got it from Martin Carthy.
Yeah.
So I think even 2 times removed, it still ends up back at Bill Norrie on Rite of Passage in the late 80s.
Yeah.
But then, we've got, and Piers Corley, who's been on the podcast before, on the Tamlin episode, he recorded Bill Norrie as well for one of his pandemic.
Yes, I've heard Piers sing that one.
Yeah, one of his pandemic download albums, and he said, I heard Faye Heald sing it, who got it from Damien Barber, who got it from Martin Carthy. So someone should learn it. Someone should learn it from Piers Corley, and we should 6 degrees of Martin Carthy.
Compare the two, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But 2 are ones that I wanted to just flag up. That not that I've had a chance to delve into them on a text comparison basis, but 2 more previous guests. I mean, I keep saying this now. We've had so many guests. I probably should stop saying previous guest. But Joe Miller, who's been on a couple of times, a lot of albums that Joe Miller's been on, they seem to be cassettes made for the Scottish Text Society, and so they're not massively available.
Right.
But there was an album called Mary McQueen's Ballads. This is child ballads collected by Andrew Crawford and William Motherwell, all collected from Mary McQueen, Mrs. William Story from the late 1700s. And so there's a cassette called that, Mary McQueen's Ballads, and she sang Bob Norris, Norrice,
right,
on there. But that's one, I reckon that's in child, because if it's a Motherwell one, then it's probably
Yeah,
put
yeah,
in
it's
child
probably
later on.
child. Yeah. That'd be interesting to hear that, though.
Yeah, I wonder if I can track down. Joe might have a copy of it. I might just ask her.
Yeah.
And and her text said Mary McQueen's text, but no mention of any tune for any of the 7 versions in Child. So that I have no idea without hearing what her tune is.
Okay, where she goes from, yeah.
And then, according to Mainly Norfolk, a font of all knowledge, Alistair Roberts, who's been on the podcast before, sang Bob Norris, Norris, on a 2023 album of his called Grief in the Kitchen and Mirth in the Hall. And he said that version derives ultimately from, the Mary McQueen one again.
Right.
Yeah, whose extensive ballad repertoire was noted down in the early 19th century and first printed around 1825 by Andrew Crawford. And he got it from Joe Miller. There we go. It all links together again.
All comes together.
So Joe Miller and Alistair Roberts are both singing the Mary McQueen one.
Everything else is Bill Norrie.
Everything is Bill Norrie, and then there's yours.
And there's mine as well. And it's interesting because I think, just thinking about it, but the fact that I didn't clock when I was, I think I was thumbing through Child looking for something to do for this album with John, and I think I was just Child Morris, I've not heard of that, and then was gripped by the story and just went from there. And I wonder, looking back on it, if I had gone, it's Bill Norrie. Do you know what I mean? I think I might have just kept skimming, but because it was like, no one's ever done this before. Do you know what I mean?
A child ballad no one's heard of.
Yeah, and then it's that never happens. I've still yet to get that in my. I don't know. Maybe there's one. I'm trying to think. Maybe there's one song I've done that no one's done, but Basically, it's impossible, isn't it? So
I remember that story of you saying that you'd learnt Fathom the Bowl or something and turned up thinking no one knew it.
Yeah. First folk singing session I went to. Yeah.
So if you've not been to anything before, then how are you meant to know what's been sung and what hasn't? And you just do what you do, and it all adds to the overall repertoire of folk songs.
It's a sort of an interesting thing about how we as collectively as folk singers or whatever you want to call us. That if I had been put off this because of Martin's version, I'm quite proud of this version. It's quite a good version, and it's a very different version to Martin's version. It's a very different version to the Ewan McCall's version, and so I suppose it makes me think, we shouldn't be put off by the fact that someone's done a great version of something. You shouldn't go, I'll leave that alone because Martin Carthy's done that really well. Because you never know what you're going to come up with, particularly if it's something sort of really quite different.
Absolutely. There's enough different texts of most ballads out there to be able to come up with something that's different. But even with the same text, as I say, I think the big difference with my version and mine, John's version, is that it I hope brings out the sort of grim humour of it, and I don't think Martin's and Ewan's does that, which isn't at all detract from what they do, because this is absolutely brilliant. But I think that I feel like our place is sort of we justify our existence as one of the interpreters of this song. Yeah,
probably because what we did was look at really more at that slightly sort of carry on sort of humour in it. I hope quite a subtle way. It's not like it's not sort of totally hamming it up. But anyway, but the point being that I think there's always different takes on these things, even when they've been done brilliantly by one of the greats. That doesn't mean that there isn't more to be done.
Absolutely. And Martin's one is very much with that melody and that style of guitar accompaniment for that one, which I'm pretty sure he had to put his guitar in another tuning for just for that song, because of the way he basically, there's like 2 strings that are on the guitar that are like just open strings the whole time droning, and the rest of it is him playing the melody in octaves for the entire thing. And because of that and the way that he just strums almost the entire guitar, not quite, but the whole thing is like that. Somehow it ends up sounding quite melancholy and almost like, this is a sad ballad from the beginning. but
Yeah,
but obviously
which,
works for that,
which works because it is a very sad ballad. But yeah, it's just different. It's different.
Absolutely.
Different take, isn't it?
And
So,
then you mentioned Ewan McCall. We'll just mention Ewan again to finish. Yeah, Ewan. I think the most available recording of Ewan McCall singing it. Him and Peggy Seeger's 1982 album. That's Blood and Roses Volume 2, which probably quite hard to come by on LP. But I'm pretty sure all of Ewan and Peggy stuff is on Bandcamp now.
oh, really?
Someone, I don't know
Right.
whether it's someone connected to Peggy Seeger, but pretty sure
Yeah.
everything Ewan and Peggy, particularly
well,
the
that's
Blood and
good.
Roses volumes, are all on Bandcamp, and I keep meaning to
Yeah.
spend some hard-earned cash on them. Oh, and hard-earned digital money on them.
Well, there's some, and some of those Ewan McCall solo albums are brilliant for finding material.
Yeah, because they really delved into the child ballads in a way that other people didn't. I mean, we had Peggy Seeger last season for Fair Janet, and that's a song that basically no one else has ever sang. Apart from Jack Rutter did a version. So
Right.
he's the only person these days. But, it's just... So, yeah, I think Ewan and Peggy's albums are very important, and it's my fault for not listening to them properly yet, but I will do at some point.
Yeah.
But, we can't listen to everything
We can't.
as much as we'd like to. Right, I'll put links to all those in the show notes. And, of course, it's on Spires and Boden songs from 2005.
That's
So
right.
it came out, so it's 21 years old now. That
21 years old.
that album is now allowed to drink or drive or whatever the whichever the one is, is allowed to stay out past 11 p.m.
Yes, it is. Yes.
You must be very proud.
I'm very proud, yes. I just sit at home worrying.
That's right, yeah.
When it's going to come home, but yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we'll leave things there. This has been really fascinating to delve into. This, as usual with all these episodes, fascinating to delve into the song from a different standpoint, from a performing standpoint, rather than from a historical sort of analysis standpoint. But what does it mean as a singer? What does it mean as an audience now, rather than as whoever might have listened to it back then? I suppose that's all different and as well. But yeah, fascinating stuff. Well, thanks so much for doing this again. It's lovely.
No, it's lovely. Thank you for asking, and thank you for doing it. As I say, it's a great resource. This whole podcast. So,
thanks very much.
Thank you.
Yes, we have covered quite a few songs that you've sung over the years, but that's unsurprising considering how many songs in the Roud Index don't get sung. The Roud Index this is my theory. The Roud Index is currently at about 48,000. Yet I'm pretty sure the folk scene since the 60s, we've probably only been singing about 2,000 or 3,000 of them. I reckon.
Well, it's interesting. I'm just doing, as I say, doing this Folk Song a Day book, and because I'm taking out quite a lot of the sort of copyright stuff. I'm leaving a few copyright ins, but but it's not going to be the same. It's probably 2/3 the same as the original project. And anyway, the point is I'm sort of finding other folk songs to go in there, and so I've got 365, and there are definitely I'm keep coming across things thinking, I should definitely have one of those in there, and I haven't got the space, but not that many. Like I kind of feel like you could probably maybe do a volume 2, like the same thing again, just about, with the folk songs that are actually sung since revival. I mean, obviously there are, as you say, there are 48,000 of the things in terms of.
Well, I don't think we're actually singing that many of them.
No, I would put it at like sort of under 1,000. I would.
Well, maybe I'm being generous. Yeah, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
interesting. And then I may come across some real troubles when I get to a certain point in the index and after literally no one sung this, but it's not a child ballad. What happens then? But. Yeah, so we certainly have covered quite a lot that I know you've sung. Obviously, you won Raggle Taggle Gypsies. I know we've had. I can't find any now. Bruton Town, we've done that one. That was one of yours with Bellowhead. I remember.
Yes.
Outlandish Night. I mean, you're on tour with John Spires at the moment, more or less, and. I saw the Sheffield gig, and you did at least 3 songs I've already covered.
Well, that's a Carthy melody.
It is, yeah. But you did Outlandish Night, and you did Hind Horn and Bold Sir Island.
Yes.
All from within the same 10 Roud numbers.
We're stalking you, Matt.
We're stalking you, but you're pre-stalking me, I suppose. 20 years in advance. But anyway, so it's great. Yeah, great. Particularly Hind Horn. Not many people sing that, so it's great to have these songs sung out there. But anyway, we'll leave things there. I've just realised what my timer says, but we'll finish there until we meet again. John Boden, thank you very much.
Thank you. Child Maurice stood in the good green wood, with red gold shined his weed. By there came a little page boy, dressing a milk-white steed. I fear for you, my master, your fame it waxes wide. It is not for your rich gold, nor for your mickle pride, but all is for another lord's lady that lives on the either side. Oh, here's to you, my bonny wee boy, that I pay meat and fee. Run you an errand to the either side, and run straight home to me. If you make me this errand run, it's all against my will. If you make me this errand run, I shall do your errand ill. Oh, I fear no ill of you, bonny boy, I fear no ill of you. I fear no ill of my bonny boy, for a good bonny boy are you. Take you here this green mantle, it's all lined with the fleece. Bid her come to the good green wood for to talk to child Maurice. And take you here this shirt of silk, her own hand sewed the sleeve. Bid her come to the good green wood, and ask not Bernard's leave. But when he got to the castle wall, they were playing at the ball, and 24 ladies gay looked over the castle wall. God make you safe, you ladies all, God make you safe and sure. But Bernard's lady among you all, my errand is to her. Oh, take you here this green mantle, it's all lined with the fleece. And come you down to the good green wood for to talk to child Maurice. Take you here this shirt of silk, your own hand sewed the sleeve. Come you down to the good green wood, and ask not Bernard's leave. Well, up there spoke a little nurse, she winked all with her eye. Oh, welcome, welcome, bonny boy, with love tidings to me. You lie, you false nurse, so loud I hear you lie. Oh, Bernard's lady among you all, I'm sure you are not she. Well, up there spoke Lord Bernard, behind the door stood he. Oh, I shall go to the good green wood, and I'll see who he might be. Go fetch to me your gowns of silk, and your petticoats so small. I will ride to the good green wood, and I'll try with him a fall. Child Maurice stood in the good green wood, and he whistled and he sang. I think I see the lady come that I have loved so long. He's ridden him through the good green wood for to help her from her horse. Oh no, cried child Maurice, no maid was e'er so gross. How now, child Maurice, how now, and how do you? How long have you, my lady, loved this night? Come tell to me. When first that I your lady loved in greenwood among the thyme, then she was my first fair love before that she was thine. When first that I your lady loved in greenwood among the flowers, then she was my first fair love before that she was yours. Lord Bernard's taken a long broad sword that he was used to wear, And he's cut off child Maurice's head, and he's put it on a spear. He's cut off child Maurice's head, and he's put it on a spear. The soberest boy in all the court child Maurice's head did bear, and he's put it in a broad basin, and he's carried it through the hall. He's taken it to his lady's bower, saying, "Lady, play at ball. Play you, my lady gay. Play you from here to the bower. Play you with child Maurice's head, for he was your paramour." Oh, he was not my paramour, he was my son indeed. I got him in my mother's bower, all in my maiden weed. I got him in my mother's bower with mickle sin and shame. I brought him up in the good green wood, all beneath the wind and rain. And now I will kiss his bloody cheek, and I will kiss his chin. I'll make a vow and I'll keep it true, I will never kiss man again. Oft times I by his cradle sat, and fond to see him sleep. Now I'll lie upon his grave, the salt tears for to weep. Bring pillows for my lady, she looks so pale and wan. Oh, none of your pillows, Lord Bernard, but lay me on the stone. A pox on you, my lady gay, that would not tell it to me. If I'd have known that he was your son, he'd have not been killed by me.
And that was John Boden singing Child Maurice. And that brings us to the end of this episode. What are your thoughts on this song? I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to drop me an email at the usual address, which is intheroud@singyonder.co.uk, or you can visit the podcast on our various social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Just search for In the Roud, a folk song podcast. If you are enjoying the podcast, I would very much appreciate it if you would give us a little rating and review on wherever you get your podcasts from. And also, do hit the subscribe button if you already have not. All that really helps the podcast to reach a wider audience. Helps to ride the algorithm wave, so to speak. Thank you. In the Roud is a media partner to Veteran, the traditional music label. Although this week's song does not currently feature on any of their releases, you can find details of their extensive catalogue on their website, veteran.co.uk. One last huge thanks to this week's guests, Sandra Kerr and John Boden. Join me next week for episode 4 of this season. It's a big one. We're looking at Roud 54, which is child ballad number 84, Barbara Allen. My history guest will be the man who's done all the research on this, Vic Gammon, and my singer guest will be returning singer Nancy Kerr. Until then, that's it from me. Stay safe, be well, and I'll see you next time in the Roud.